Mic check. Good morning and happy Monday to everybody. Good to see you. I think some of you have seen me a little more than you probably would have liked to over the last couple of days, but it's nice to be back out of, as Jamar put it, out of my cuck chair and into my, I guess, cuck chair at home. It's good to be here. Good to see all you guys. Welcome everybody from YouTube and Twitch. No TikTok today. Welcome everybody from Twitter. If you're there, just know that we're also on YouTube and Twitch, where the viewing experience is so much better and it doesn't go to support an open Nazi, which is great. No money goes to Nazis when you watch on Twitch and YouTube. Why does Jay I do match the dinosaur. I didn't even think about that. How's that? That's not bad, right? Me and the dinosaur. That's from Mike Lakovich. I don't know what that, maybe atc.com. Thank you for that graphic. I think Britt found it. Anyways, good to see you guys. I saw some of you guys last night. We can't talk about why, but I did see some of you. And it's nice to see all of you today. I do have some bad news to report as we get started. Today I was supposed to not be here. I was supposed to be at a trial in Phoenix for Lori Vallow. She has an attempted murder case that she's facing after being found guilty of killing her children and then her ex-husband. And she got a little sick and she's representing herself. And so there was a delay on jury selection. And so jury selection is going on today. They may have opening statements today. So likely we won't have a show tomorrow. I'm just not sure yet. I've got my phone up. I'm watching for updates. I just need to be there for a particular testimony, and then I probably won't be back. But if any of you are new here, just so you know, that Lori Vallow trial, the way that I'm involved in that is before I did this, actually, I had a real job. That might upset the Republicans who say get a real job, but I had a real job. I owned my own company, and we were kind of in the beginning stages, and then Lori tried to kill my business partner. And so then we had to hide him all over the country, and we shut down that business. And now I do this. And is she out on bond? No. She's been in prison for a while. She's, I think she avoided the death penalty in Idaho due to her mental health. And I think I don't think that she'll get the death penalty in, she won't get the death penalty in Arizona either. So, but she's in prison. And she's told people that the reason she's representing herself is because she is teaching people about Jesus in prison, and she needs to get back to that. So she is, despite the fact that she is responsible for the deaths of at least 3 people, at least. I think it's more. I think it's 5, but I guess it's more than 3. I guess 4 or 5. I think it's 6. And my buddy was supposed to be the 7th, but he's not. He made it. He's alive and well. And we may be gone for some of this week just to be over there for that trial. So anyways, other than that, welcome. Izzy said, I'm in the middle of the Jubilee episode. You were awesome. Thank you. Do I know Lori personally? I've been around Lori a handful of times. She and my friend were really close. They're family. My friend was married to Lori's sister or niece. So I've been around her a handful of times. She was always really nice. She was like the picture of like a good mom. You would have never expected she was a psycho, honestly. So you never know. Yeah, serial killer. She is. She believes they're justified. Got so many compliments of the clips from your Jubilee episode. Proud of you. Thank you very much for that. It was the sunglasses dude in the Jubilee episode was scummy. That's all I'm hearing about from my friends is how much they disliked the guy in the sunglasses. I can just say this, like, being there filming it and then seeing how it's edited, the energy is different. It's a different they know what they're doing. They're really good. I'm really, really impressed with how Jubilee put that episode together. I was impressed with their organization top to bottom. The director was great. It's really, really a cool experience to go film with them. But the energy was very, very different in the video than it felt like in real time. In real time, it felt more combative than it was in the episode. There's the guy next to me with the world's coolest jacket, and I forget his name, which sucks. I think we follow each other on Twitter, but I'm so bad with names. He and the guy in the red shirt were not fun. We're not friends. In fact, some of the editing, I'll just tell you, like, there's parts where they keep cutting to us when we're like standing in the circle and we're laughing. And the way it's edited, it looks like we're laughing at what they're saying. And sometimes we were, but most of the time it was the guy next to me talking shit. And he was really, really funny. And so most of the time they panned to us laughing. It was the guy next to me talking shit about the guy in the red shirt. So he did not like him. He thought he was like a generic anarcho-capitalist, which he was. Like, he was very generic in everything that he said. Very confident, very little substance. And the guy next to me is absolutely brilliant. He was a really, really intelligent person, and he has no time for anarcho-capitalists. So he was annoyed. So that's what most of those cuts to us laughing are, is him just like talking shit. You can see it on Jubilee's channel. It's on the Jubilee YouTube channel. You can catch it there. Other thing, we were going to show the Jubilee, the whole episode in a reaction video. Before we did that, Jen, because she's the smart person here, read through all the fine print, and we actually have to wait 14 days before we can use any of their footage. So I can't react to stuff live on stream. I can't go over the entire Jubilee episode and for 14 days. So we are stuck, and that's just for monetization. Yeah, is that the right way to say that? I think they want to keep all the revenue for the first 14 days as it rolls out. But it was cool. Yeah, he played as a musician in the White House. He did bring that up. What was the guy next to you saying? I want to hear him live react on the episode. I might be able to get him. I'm trying to remember exactly what he was saying. Something set him off, like in the second clip or the second topic. I wish I could remember what set him off. I was just laughing. They clearly had a back and forth. It got a little heated a couple of times, and they cut that out of the episode, but it was funny. I fucking knew you guys were trolling on the side. Yeah, we were trolling the whole time. 100% trolling the whole time. In fact, you'll see, like, I switched seats halfway through. Like, I was 2 away from the moderator, and then I was 3rd away from the moderator. It's because he wanted to be closer to that guy. He wanted to be closer so he could talk to him more directly. That's why we switched seats. He's just like, hey, can you switch me seats real quick? I want to talk to this guy. So you'll notice that's why we switched seats. There was a Niners reference in there. I was proud of that Niners reference. I'm not proud of Jim Tom Sula. So that was good. But into the show, though, just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. Up in the top left corner, you'll see we have a daily gift goal. As Hey Howdy has mentioned, $5, starting off the $5 dollar train. If everybody just joins that dollar train, we can knock that goal out in a hurry. We are 100% crowdfunded here, and if we don't hit our goals, Jen quits and or beats me. I know that you guys don't care that much if she hits me, but her quitting would be an absolute disaster. Where can you watch it now? It's spelled like Jubilee with 2 E's there. Two E's, Michael. Between him and the lady, I was so proud of you, Jay. I saw there a few times you were close to laughing. Yeah, I was holding it in for a while. I had a great time. Honestly, that's like that. I like doing that kind of stuff. I wasn't really nervous going into it. I was far more nervous when it released. I was far more nervous yesterday than any other time. I hate looking at myself. I hate watching myself. I don't like to hear myself. I don't go back and watch these. So the nerves all hit yesterday morning, and I felt a little bit sick. So Sunglasses Dude was doing his best Jim Jones impersonation. Not Patrick Jones. I looked like a proud schoolboy. Thank you. What shoes was I wearing? I don't remember. Let me take a look. I was wearing... I don't remember. Let me pull this up. You guys can't see it, I don't think, or I'll get in trouble.
It is, you can't talk about.
Oh, I was wearing some Luka Doncic Jordans. That's what they were. Some LDs. Yeah. I'm a big Luka Doncic fan. I don't have a lot of shoes either. That's like my one pair of shoes that, like, if I'm wearing those, you know, it's a special occasion because I almost never wear shoes. Anyways, let's get into the show today. Welcome anybody who's new here. We don't just talk about me. We talk about the news. And we also talk about petty shit. And this is some petty shit that I want to talk about this morning. Reuters snapped a picture. Here's Trump in the rain giving some comments to reporters. I think this was Sunday night. And Reuters grabbed a screen grab of his phone. And he's got a picture of himself, which is crazy. That's a crazy thing to do. That is a very strange thing to do, to have a picture of yourself pointing at yourself on your lock screen. This man, I don't know. I'll never be stop being confused by the people who say, like, he's a great man, he cares about others, he's a family man. Bro, this guy cares about him and only him. He has grandchildren, he has children. He's the president of a country. He's the leader of the GOP. There's so many things that should mean a lot to him that could be on the front of his lock screen. Instead, it's just him. Remember, dude, it's you. And it's like a nice, like, highly edited picture of him. His hair's a little too full in that picture, if you ask me. Face might be a little too skinny, if you ask me. A lot of the wrinkles have been smoothed out, if you ask me. But what a psycho. Amanda said, I don't know what to say, so just take my money. Take my money. You got it. We'll do that every single day. Also, as a reminder, there's a Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. You can send messages that way, and we are happy to read those on the air. I'll read damn near anything you send, hopefully within reason. Let me pull those up real quick. I forgot. And just a reminder, if you're here and you disagree with anything that we say, you've got Jen's username is JenDub1 on Discord. She can bring you up, and you can have a discussion with me. So there we go. Good morning, Jen. If you're here. And Tracy says, running to the chair first before they even asked your side to join. It wasn't sides. Listen, let me tell you about that. Okay, the very first clip of the show is their side comes in. It's not really supposed to be sides. It's called middle ground. You're supposed to find a middle ground. So the way they explained it is, if you agree, you come sit down. If you disagree with the prompt, you stay back. But then once they change, Elon Musk, I guess, is like a genius, but not in the ways that people think. Like, he's a marketing genius. He's done very well. And then they said evil genius, and then I was like, I'll go for it. Everybody was confused by that. I think it was against the rules, and I was at the time completely unaware that what I was doing was weird. And so. After that's, I've had that comment. It was weird, but in the moment, I didn't have the social awareness to realize that what I was doing was a little bit different. So thank you for bringing that up. I want to talk a little bit as well about China. One of the interesting things about the current political environment that we live in is you're seeing a difference on the right of, like, everybody kind of called themselves truth tellers. And everything has always revolved around Donald Trump. And so when people said they were truth tellers, it was just their way of saying, like, they support Trump. But then there were, shut up, Eli. But then there's, like, other people who have claimed to be truth tellers. And now that this administration is in place, you see that they're actually holding to their principles. One of those people that I was heavily critical of is Sean Ryan. I still think Sean Ryan is far too conspiratorial. I still don't necessarily agree with his view of the world and his view of America's role in the world. I think he consistently thinks we're the good guys in everything. But here's Sean Ryan talking to, I don't remember this guy's name. Did he put his name up here? Mavroukas, Dino Mavroukas. I don't really know what his role is. He must be in intelligence or something. I want you to hear, Sean Ryan has consistently said, and he's brought on guests to show that, like, China is just light years ahead of us in technology, in military, and he's very concerned about China. Here's what he says about China now.
To kick this off with a fact, I mean, we've talked a lot about China and their capabilities and how they're getting an edge on us in just about every capacity: power, AI, shipbuilding.
They're not messing around. They are investing heavily. The government's pouring billions and billions of dollars. If we think China's not on a wartime footing right now, we're sticking our heads in the sand.
Man, it just sounds like they're gaining an edge in just about every important aspect of being a global superpower. And so I wanted to kick this off. In 1943, we built 18,000 ships. In 2023, we built 8 and retired 12 for a -4. And the U.S. accounts for only 0.1% of global shipbuilding. 0.1%.
Crazy. It's crazy. In World War II, I'll give you another stat. We commissioned over 100 aircraft carriers between 1942 and 1945. Today, an aircraft carrier costs $10 billion as a baseline. The budget estimate actually went up to $13 billion.
Jeez.
But more importantly, they take over.
My favorite part of every Sean Ryan show is him just like saying "geez" to something that he can't really comprehend. Look, what they're saying here is pretty simple. China is ahead of us, and China is moving militarily ahead of us because they're concerned about us. And this is why, like, sometimes these bro podcasts drive me nuts. Because you know what the answer is? The answer to all this shit is, hey, what if we just normalized relationships with them? What if every time China did something, we didn't like escalate immediately and one up them? This is the problem with like too much testosterone and too many men with fragile egos running the world, is that we're just escalating and building all these weapons because we consistently are just afraid of each other. We could just normalize relations. We could just have easy trade. We could just work together to use our massive resources to end fighting throughout the Middle East, throughout Africa. We could do all those things, but instead we're just like, fuck, China's doing something that we're not doing. We better escalate it. And what this then leads to is more military spending, more investment. This clip will go out. All the right wingers or all the pro-military folks are going to be like, oh, we got to catch up with China. We better raise that budget. And this idea of fiscal conservancy and this idea of fiscal conservatism and balancing a budget and cutting from defense, it'll never happen because of shit like this. Because we keep putting people in place who think the answer to everything is like trying to one-up the person that you're competing against. And as soon as we do that, then China's going to be like, shit, I guess we got to do it too. And then China's going to move ahead of us. The other part of this video that I think is really important is showing how China is beating our ass at everything. And they're doing it in a way that I think conservatives have yet to figure out. The reason that China has advanced so far past us is because China reinvests their money into their people. And the United States reinvests their money through tax breaks into billionaires. Right, so it's kind of like a collective growth, and people are able to profit in these advances through taxes or through the government owning half of the company. They share in the revenues, and then they invest in school and they invest in safety. They go overboard on safety. They invest in their military. They invest in manufacturing. They're investing in new technologies. They're heavily invested in renewable energy. They take the profits from the stuff their country generates and they reinvest it into their country. Where in America, we take the profits of the things that people in America create, and then we just give that money, or we just let them keep all of that money. We never reinvest it. We'll give them the tax break to get going. We'll give them subsidies to get going, and then that money just like sits in their pockets or sits in other investments, and we don't get the ROI like China is getting. That's what I take away from this. China is able to have a much higher tax rate, far less freedom living in China, and less money actually available to entrepreneurs, and they just are blowing us away at virtually everything that matters right now. And our response to that, because our president is a fucking fossil who's dumb as a box of rocks, who's owned by like every lobbyist, every oil lobbyist, every Christian nationalist lobbyist, all the people we don't want to be leading this fight. He's completely owned by them. They're owned by their profits and their shareholders. And so they're like, let's the one thing we could learn from China is that we should do manufacturing. Like the one part that we don't necessarily need to do from China, we never learn the right lessons. Why? Because we're just too busy measuring our dicks with the Chinese government. And right now, their dicks are way bigger. Like way bigger, and they're growing. They're growers, not showers, over there in China. They are showing us what it's like to build an economy that keeps the people working together and benefits the people as a whole. And that sucks. That really sucks to say, because I don't want our country to be like China. I don't want to live in a constant surveillance state. Although we're headed there, Republicans are on their way. But they're doing a lot of things much better than we are right now. And it's nice to see people on the right at least recognize that. I don't want them to lead, though, because they're just going to be like, this means that we need to build 85 nuclear weapons a day to keep up with China. But fuck the poor people, by the way.
10 years to make. A decade.
Yeah, Biden was a fossil that was owned, too. What did Biden do? Right? Like, Biden didn't end any of this shit, too. My question is, why is it that when I bring up that Trump is an old guy that's owned by corporate interests, you're like, well, what about Biden? How about you just like reach down and grab your nuts and be like, oh, those are mine? Oh, I'm my own person. I don't have to play whataboutism for every argument. What if I just stopped talking about Joe Biden for a second and ignored Joe Biden because he's gone and he's not going to be here much longer, and I focused on what was right in front of me? The problem is you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that, because then you'd realize that Donald Trump isn't that different from Biden, except for he's crazy. Except for none of you have figured out that he lost his mind a long time ago. So like the main difference is people around Biden were like, oh, he's slipping. We need to keep him out of the media's eyes. We need to, maybe we'll run things in the background. Trump, you guys haven't figured out he's crazy yet. You're just still going with it. You're just still like, yeah, this is good. He's making total sense. That's the main difference. Is that there's nobody around him that is taking control yet. And you guys are going to need that.
To make one. Our entire involvement in World War II was 4 years long. So not only are they wildly expensive, but you can't afford... Take human life out of the equation for just a second, because I'm sure we'll talk about that a bunch. You can't afford to lose one, because you cannot get another one.
It scares the hell out of me, man.
It's crazy.
It just seems...
I've watched a lot of Sean Ryan. I got to tell you about Sean Ryan. One of the reasons he's a good interviewer, and people say this, is he doesn't interject. It's because he doesn't have a lot to say. He just didn't know what to do with that. He's like, fuck, that sucks. That's mostly how he interviews.
It's like we're falling behind on everything, and we'll get into this too, but just, breakfast, we were talking about all the bureaucracy and the red tape that entrepreneurs...
I don't know if some of you are new to me. I don't know if some of you Republicans are new here. Like, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not happy with the Democrats. And if you have to spend your whole time in the chat arguing about, oh, well, the Democrats can't, you guys don't get to talk. I think that's like more of a reflection of who you are, right? If I just say anything, no matter what I say, if you think about Democrats immediately, I'd say, like, just take a look in the mirror. What does that say? What does that say about you? That you can't address what's happening right now without saying Democrats. I'm not a Democrat. In fact, I'm a registered Republican. I'm not a Republican. I don't vote Republican. I vote overwhelmingly Democrat, but I'm a registered Republican because of where I live, and my vote in the primaries basically doesn't matter, and I just want to vote against Andy Biggs. But it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not happy with the Democrats either. I'm not happy with the Democrat. I wasn't happy that they chose Joe Biden. I wasn't a Joe Biden guy. Did I vote for him? Yeah. Would Harris have been my first choice? No. But can we move past that at some point? Is there ever going to be a point where you guys are willing to just address what's going on in front of you, or do we have to do this for 4 straight years? Just whataboutism for 4 straight years. Oh, you guys did it. I get it. I'm not doing that. I didn't talk about blaming Trump for 4 straight years. We talked about what's going on in front of us, and we did talk about the fact that Trump is a criminal a lot. Yeah, that was a story in the news.
But have to go through, and you would think that would be You would think they would fast
so
track
registered
national
Republicans.
defense, but it sounds like it's even more of a pain in the ass than just being a regular entrepreneur. And I mean, like you just said, by the time and we'll get into this more too, but by the time this stuff even gets approved to be built, let alone being built, I mean, it's already obsolete.
I wanted to start this off by talking about China because a lot of the rest of this episode is going to be showing you that like we're taking all the wrong lessons from China, and Republicans, what they seem to have learned from China is that control is really good. And they seem to have taken that lesson from like the tech oligarchs. This is good timing for that Elon episode to come out from Jubilee. But they seem to have taken the lesson of China that like, oh, we need more control, we need more surveillance, we need more of a police state. That's the stuff we need from China. But since it's the oligarchs and they'd like to keep all of their money, they also say, let's not tax like China. Let's not reinvest like China. Let's only be like China in that we spend a bunch of money on defense and that we shut down opposing voices. It's getting pretty sick here. This is Florida, where highway patrol troopers are now starting to remove their name tags because they are going on ICE raids. I understand if I was a police officer, if I was a member of the highway patrol, I can understand right now saying like, I don't know if I want my name out there. There's a lot of people angry with us, and there's a lot of people angry that we're working with ICE, mostly because it's unconstitutional. And secondly, because it seems to be targeted at people who don't seem to be hurting us in any real way. And it seems to be very cruel. And so I understand the plight of the highway patrol folks not wanting their name tags on, but it's a law. We're allowed to know who it is. If you start removing the name tags and allow ICE agents who are showing up in masks, can you imagine telling somebody, if we would have told you this in November, had we said that once Trump gets in office, they're going to massively expand the surveillance state, they're going to start tracking everything that you do, and the police are going to stop wearing name tags, and they're going to put on masks, and they're going to run around masked, just arresting people, you would have said there's no chance, and you would have been against it. The only reason you're not against it is because you've been told that like illegal immigration is somehow hurting you, that it's devastating. And so you get to be cruel to people who you think are breaking the law. Why do you think it is that these guys are showing up in masks? I think it's because we deputized a bunch of white nationalists. We showed you on Friday, like they're starting to spot tattoos. Now these guys are showing up in full-length sleeves because they don't even want to show their tattoos because they're so proudly white nationalists that they're wearing white nationalist tattoos. And now we're figuring them out. And if they weren't masked, we would recognize their faces. And I'm going to guess that a lot of those people might have been there in Charlottesville, might have been there on January 6th, might have been there in Seattle, might have been there in Ferguson, might have been there in Minneapolis, in all of these places where there have been riots. I'm going to guess a lot of these people were involved. And so they're showing up masked, and they're showing up fully sleeved. That's what I think. And the FOIA requests are already in. And here we have another problem. We should know who these people are by now already. There's hundreds of thousands of FOIA requests. Do we think the government's going to grant those FOIA requests? Do you think they're going to comply with the Freedom of Information Act? Do you think they're going to share those names? Probably not, right? So now we've got a surveillance state with masked police, and we don't get to know who they are. And now the regular police, the highway patrol, they're showing up, and they're taking off their name tags too. And then people are going to start recognizing their faces. And they're going to be like, hey, that guy is, and then they're going to wear masks. And we're going to be put into a scenario now. This is how they sleepwalk you into oligarchy in a police state. You're going to defend it, Republicans, because you're not allowed to say like, oh, they're overstepping their bounds to go after immigrants. You're not really allowed to do that. So you're going to justify this. You're going to justify the masks. You're going to justify the ignored FOIA requests. You're going to justify police no longer keeping their badge on or being required to give their badge number. And you're just going to justify this all the way into a police state if somebody else doesn't stop it. Ironically, like I've told you this before, like one of the things that like is the most conservative about me is that I like watching like those police audit videos. And those are mostly conservatives. In fact, I watched one Sunday where there was this guy that like he went into it was like a privately owned building, but the government leases it. So like during business hours, he's allowed to film. And this little man came and started screaming at him, and he's like, he called him like some like a liberal cuck or some shit like that. And he's like, I'm not a liberal. I'm a conservative. And I was like, yeah, all of these police auditors are conservatives. And it became like this genre that's really big with conservative men. And ironically, the very thing that they've been exposing with police departments which is why I appreciate their channels, the very thing that they've exposed forever is that police are too secretive. They're doing now. And where's the conservative outrage on that?
Nameplate when working with ICE. That is the message being sent to some Florida Highway Patrol troopers. An email shared with News 6 appears to show some Central Florida troopers have been given directions not to wear their name tags during future ICE operations.
This video shows more than 100 immigrants being arrested in Tallahassee yesterday with the help of Florida Highway Patrol. News 6's Catherine Silver is pressing for answers from FHP on the email and the operation.
It's one of the most recognizable law enforcement looks in the state, the Florida Highway Patrol's standard daily patrol uniform. But this email shared by a source with News 6 seems to direct troopers to take off their nameplates. It reads in part, "There has been a lot of activity and many recordings of us posted online when working with ICE. For officer safety, remove your name tag from your Class B uniforms only when working Operation Closeout." We searched the agency's policy manual, which has detailed descriptions down to the color ornaments. This is the Class B uniform, pictured with a name.
Let me see. This is the Republican argument every time. Where was that one? I'm not supposed to break into your house, but if I do, I get to stay and you have to pay me, and then I can invite my family in too. This is how like you guys get to a position where you support a police state. You believe a bunch of shit that isn't true. So while you're here as a person of the left over here, let me explain our fucking position. Our position is that illegal immigration is wrong, and that it is a crime, and that it is a misdemeanor, and that just because somebody commits a crime doesn't mean that they lose the opportunity to have due process. Right? So, for example, if somebody breaks into my house, I get to follow the law. If they are in my house, that's no longer a misdemeanor, is it? It's a felony. And because I live in a state where I have the right to defend myself, I can defend myself. And I can use a weapon to defend myself if I would like to. However, in the United States of America, if somebody comes into the country, you have to give them due process. So our view is not let everybody in and let them do what they want and give them money. Our position is it is a misdemeanor. And if you want to change that, change the fucking law. Okay? Don't just say we don't like this law, therefore we're going to kidnap people and we're going to show up in masks, and we're not going to identify ourselves, and we're going to create a police state. The way that they get you to support terrible things like this is by lying to you about what we think. We don't think that. Find me a politician who says, bring in illegal immigrants and pay them. It doesn't happen. What does happen sometimes is that people do an analysis, and they say there's this many people here illegally in our city, and they are a strain on the city. Many of them are working, and it is cheaper for us to maybe provide them some benefits than to have these people not be able to go to a hospital. And you guys want us to just cut them off, which creates this impossible scenario where a doctor who is sworn to do no harm now is going to have to check like the legal status of somebody before they can treat them. And maybe the doctor wants to treat them. Right? So all we really need to do is change the laws. But for some reason, and imagine why Republicans, specifically these Republicans, specifically the Republican Party right now, that is totally controlled by billionaires. And most of those billionaires have a stated goal to either be an oligarchy or a dictatorship Donald Trump, I will be a dictator on day one. Look at how he talks about the Chinese citizens. I want my people to stand at attention. I want them to do what I say. Peter Thiel, I'll play this a little later in the show. Peter Thiel says, what we really want is we think that certain people should be in charge. Not everybody should get a vote. In that Jubilee episode, that was one of the points of contention that both sides agreed on, is that our country wasn't actually really set up to be a direct democracy. They set it up as a class system. There were certain people who weren't allowed to vote. It was white, land-owning dudes. And then as an electorate, we undid that. We're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to let women vote eventually. We're going to let black people vote eventually. We're going to let immigrants vote eventually. And we're going to expand access to more than just white land-owning men. And ironically, a bunch of white land-owning men, people who have an insane amount of power and influence, now they're like, let's take it back. Let's go back to 1776 when it was just us that was in charge. That's when things were better. Is just when it was just a few of us that were in charge. Ironically, it's the same thing. It's the rich white men who are like, let's take it back that way. That's your position on your side, but they don't tell you that. Instead of telling you that, they just tell you that what we want to do is let in everybody illegally and pay for them. Who the fuck would want that? Honestly. Show me one person ever from the left who is saying that yeah, we should just let in illegal immigrants and then we should pay for all of everything that they do. Nobody is saying that. But it's a whole game. They tell you we're saying that, and then they tell you do not watch left-leaning news. Don't watch CNN, don't watch MSNBC. All of these people are fake news. And then if you happen to stumble across somebody like me, and you hear me say this, if it were to get back, they'd be like, oh, he's lying. He's lying. He doesn't really know. They all say that they don't like illegal immigration, but what they're really doing is lying. And the real plan is to let in a bunch of illegal immigrants. Why? Who ultimately benefits from that? I understand that I'm telling you the same thing you're telling me, that I think that you guys are falling for propaganda so that people can take power. But I've got examples. I can show you Peter Thiel. I can show you Elon Musk. I can show you Mark Andreessen. I can show you Donald Trump. I can show you Stephen Miller. I can show you the people in power talking about how they need to take away other people's rights to vote and to have power and how they want the power. You can't show me anyone who has any sort of idea of like, here's how we gain power. We'll let in a bunch of illegal immigrants. In fact, the reason that you say that is so there will be more voters, which is democratic. At least the conspiracy theory you have about us is that more people will be allowed to vote. There will be more voices heard. And your version is we need less voices heard. In fact, so much so that we're willing to lose our voice and give it to these people instead. We will lose our own rights because it'll be temporary. Because it's always been temporary, right? They always give that power back.
Plate. It says no variation shall be allowed without the expressed authorization of the director or designee. Video from Tallahassee this week shows troopers in different uniforms, including Class B, during an immigration raid at a construction site. The agency has often shared images on social media of its participation in similar operations, part of its cooperation with ICE.
Florida Highway Patrol is leading this effort all across the United States. There's not a single law enforcement agency.
Yeah, they're paid agitators. That's right. Tony said, we're all proud of you. Amanda said, I don't know if say take my money. I read
that's gotten in this fight more deeply than our FHP troopers.
We've been calling both FHP in Orlando and the headquarters up in Tallahassee to learn more about this email and to ask about the context and the scope. We started reaching out after 10 o'clock on Friday morning. As soon as we receive a response, we'll share it on clickorlando.com. There
we go. Two comments I forgot. Swish said, I did not enjoy Ronnie Millsap at all. I don't even understand that. Is that person's name? And Tim said, proud to see you repping intelligent humans on Jubilee. Thank you. I do want to let you know, I did just get notice that Lori Vallow's trial is on today. And that's going to start around 1:30. So I'm going to need to leave here. Let me check, see how far it's going to take me to get there. Sorry This just came in right now. I'm not sure how long it takes to get to the courthouse. 35 minutes. I need to be there at 1. Yeah, I'm going to need to end this around like 11:45 my time, maybe 11:30 my time to be safe. So we're going to do this for another hour, and we'll end a little early today. But that's great news because we'll be back tomorrow. So who is Ronnie Millsap? Who the fuck is Ronnie Millsap? I know. Oh, my God. Come on. That is diabolical. He's even got the shirt. That's devastating. I was thinking of a Paul Millsap. I didn't know if he had a brother. Oh my God. That's such a good reference. Thank you, Swish. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go watch the Jubilee episode. You'll catch it real quick. What do you say? Somebody said he was a country music singer. All right. Was that the original? What was the original reason that our government let all the illegals cross the border? I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. Nobody let a bunch of illegal immigrants in, by the way. Like, this is the other part of the argument that I think all of you fuck up every single time. You quote this number of like 20 million illegal immigrants that came in. Almost all of them were asylum seekers. All of that was legal. And then you're like, oh, they weren't really seeking asylum. Then fix the law. The answer to all of this is fix the law, but you guys are being allowed to be duped, or you're allowing yourselves to be duped. Instead of fixing the law, they're like, fuck it, we'll just do fascism. We'll just do a strongman regime. I got all my cam's getting after it again. We'll just go ahead and we'll put in an authoritarian because we can't ever fix the law. And you guys are just going with it. You're just going. Everything that you hate about our immigration system should be fixed through the law, but you don't care. You're just like, no. We'll just have Trump do everything. We'll just give the police a lot more authority. We'll have a mask. They can take off their name tags. We'll just create like some brown shirts instead, rather than fix the law. That's a big problem. That's a big problem with your side. You guys are so desperate not to ever admit that you're losing about anything that you're just like, yeah, we'll just not fix the law. We'll bring them in. This is a cool story. I don't know who's going to like this. And shout out Straight Arrow News. I didn't know they existed until I went on Jubilee. They provide the fact check, but I found this on Straight Arrow News yesterday. This is what I'm talking. The idea of trans people playing sports, it is difficult, and I think anybody who pretends it's not nuanced is silly. But look what California did here. Tell me this isn't a great solution.
But their participation is drawing fire.
Johnny, do you dislike my name? Oh, sorry, Johnny, I didn't read your name. My bad, bud.
From the White House and reigniting the debate over transgender athletes participating in women's sports.
Thanks, Spider. My bad.
A.B. Hernandez won the high jump and triple jump at California's state championship, competing under a new rule put in place days earlier. The policy came after President Trump threatened to withhold federal funding over Hernandez's participation in girls' events. As Straight Arrow News reported, the so-called pilot entry process allows multiple first-place finishers. If a transgender athlete places first, the top-ranked biological female can also be awarded gold. That's what happens.
What's wrong with that? Track and field, nobody gets hurt. These are individual events. You're not punching each other. You're not getting drilled in a football game. Like, this is an individual sport where they are allowing trans people to compete, and in order to make everybody happy, you hand out a medal to biological females as well. What's wrong with that? Why is this a problem? That's such a good solution. You know why Republicans are still mad about this? Is because it was never about women's sports. Because you're all fucking liars. You just think trans people are icky. That's it. You hate trans people, and you've been able to hide behind women's sports to hide your bigotry, and now you're losing that. So now you're even mad about this. It was never about fairness for most of you. None of you. It's never been about fairness. It's never been about protecting women's sports. It's always been about hatred. So when this story comes out and it fixes the very problem that you're concerned about, well, what if my daughter took first and then she lost to a trans person, and so now she's second place? Well, no problem anymore. We fixed the problem, and you're still mad. Why is it that you're still mad, do you think? If your daughter still can take first place. By the way, she also lost in like multiple events. So this idea that like just because she's trans means that she's going to beat all women in sports, that didn't turn out to be true either, did it? Yeah, you just don't like trans people. Almost nothing that you guys say, almost nothing that you stand for is the argument that you're making. And Charlie Kirk is the epitome of this. Charlie Kirk argues things constantly, like when it comes to trans people, when it comes to abortion, when it comes to marriage in general, when it comes to women's rights. He always leans back and he's like, oh, well, these are my arguments. But his true argument is that he's just like a strict believer in the Bible, and he's a white supremacist. He may not even know he's a white supremacist, but he is a white supremacist. And he hides every one of his arguments behind arguments that aren't his real argument. Your argument all along has been that you don't think trans people should exist and you think that they're icky. But you're too chicken shit to say it, because you know that if you say that, people even on your side are going to be like, dude, that's fucked up. You're too chicken shit to say it. So now when we fix the problem, you're still mad because it was never what you said it was about. You don't give a flying fuck about women's sports. None of you guys turned on the WNBA this weekend. None of you did that. You have no idea. This guy's a misogynist. You don't know what misogynism is, David. You don't.
Saturday, Hernandez cleared 5 feet 7 inches in the high jump.
Guys, stop with the gay slurs. Jesus fucking Christ. Are you in 7th grade? Hey, let's go online and call people gay slurs. Bro, that stopped being funny in 7th grade, like 20 years ago. Those jokes don't land anymore. I'm sorry. This is why you guys all think you're being canceled. You're just not funny anymore. You're just hateful. You're recycling jokes from 7th grade. You're on a YouTube channel repeating them. You're not canceled. People just don't like you. People don't want you around. It's not your speech. It's not because people think you're telling the truth. You're just fucking annoying. And you're awkward, and you're weird, and you're not funny. And so you try, and then people are like, get this guy the fuck out of here. I promise you, all of us are annoyed with you right now, not because we think you're speaking the truth. It's because you're too goddamn dumb to engage in a real conversation about real solutions. This is a real solution. You freaked out. You guys are all freaking out right now. This is a real solution. And you're like, yeah, we need to protect bigotry.
Without a miss. 2 other athletes, biological females, cleared the same height, but with earlier faults. All 3 shared the podium. Hernandez also won the triple jump, sharing gold with Kira Grant Hatcher, despite beating her by more than half a meter. Trump blasted California last week after Hernandez qualified for the championship, saying the runner-up shouldn't have been displaced and warning he'd pull federal dollars if the issue wasn't properly addressed. Shortly after Trump's threat, the California Interscholastic Federation announced the rule change, saying it would allow biological female athletes who would have earned a qualifying spot for state to still advance. Governor Gavin
Dick Phelps says, shout out to Fallon Fox, first female MMA fighter. I don't know. Is that troll? Are you trying to troll? That's silly. I don't know if you're trying to troll with that or not. I don't know. I'm a big MMA fan, so I know the story of Fallon Fox, not the first woman MMA fighter. I think what you're trying to do is bring up the fact that there was a lot of controversy with Fallon Fox, which, by the way, I would agree with you on. I do think that when Fallon Fox was fighting, there was a severe lack of testing. And so people, and that was all across MMA, by the way. Like, go look at, what is his name? What did they call it? What is it? Well, just go look at Pride. Go look at the Pride fights. Every one of those people was on steroids and TRT. Vitor, that's who I was thinking of. Vitor Belfort. Look what happened when they changed the TRT rules. Vitor had like 9 times more of the free testosterone than normal men. Then they banned testosterone replacement therapy, and all of a sudden he was really, really average. Like, you guys, this is the problem that we have with discussing like how to deal with trans people in sports, is that you just hate trans people. And so when you look at Fallon Fox, the problem with Fallon Fox wasn't that she was trans; it was a lack of testing, and that they were allowing people with massive amounts of free testosterone to fight people who didn't have that free testosterone. By the way, Fallon Fox fucked somebody up. You know who else got fucked up pretty bad? Is Michael Bisping. You guys know Michael Bisping has one eye, right? He's an MMA fighter with one eye. How did he lose his eye? He got beat the fuck up by Vitor Belfort, who had 9 times the free testosterone that he did. Are any of you guys screaming for justice for Michael Bisping? He lost an eye. No, none of you are screaming for justice for Michael Bisping. None of you. What about the people that Vitor Belfort ended their career? You don't care about that. You just don't like trans people. It has nothing to do with parity or fairness in sports. If you're talking about MMA or swimming or any of these Olympic sports, most of these problems that we have where it's unfair, you can fix all of that just by testing, hormone testing. But go look at, you ever looked at 1990s basketball? I saw a clip from Gilbert Arenas the other day that was brilliant. Go look at the 1990s and late 1980s basketball players. Look from Larry Bird's era until the early 2000s. Look at Karl Malone. These dudes were juicing. How come all of them were bald when they were 24? They leave college with a full head of hair, and then 3 years later, they're double the size and they're bald. Why? Because they were on TRT, or they were on HGH, or they were on steroids. But this stuff is unfair. You need to regulate this. But instead of addressing the real issue that your level of hormones creates an unfair advantage to you sometimes, instead of just addressing that issue and not making it about trans people, you guys are desperate to make everything about trans people. And the reality is that you and your friends sit around and you talk openly about how much you hate trans people. You just hate trans people. So everything you can turn into a trans issue, you turn it into one. But great job, California here. Great fucking job by California.
Newsom's office said in a statement, CIF's proposal is a reasonable, respectful way to navigate a complex issue without compromising competitive fairness. But not everyone was on board. Critics of transgender athletes...
Yeah, there we go. Save girl. There we are. Save girl sports. They don't care. What happened to those girls? What happened to them? The girl who took first place took first place. That's it. That's the whole thing. Nobody lost anything. In fact, they expanded the number of people who could go to state tournaments because of this. All of this was fair, and yet we still have people saying, "Save our girls' sports." What are they really saying? Just write it on the sign. I don't like trans people.
Girl sports showed up at the event with signs and shirts, some demanding Hernandez be disqualified.
The vape, the wraparound shades, and the backwards trucker hat tell you everything you needed to know about this guy. This guy came in full costume. He's got his big old vape right there. Got a white band for his Apple Watch. The wraparounds. What are those, Costas? Some Costas? I'm going to go out and do some fishing later. It says my kid got 5th place.
Qualified.
I'm here to save my daughter's future.
Oh, yeah?
Because they're trying to set a precedent.
Oh.
They're trying to push us aside like they always do to women. Please, women, sit down. You're second-rate citizens.
The victim, nobody victims harder than an obviously non-athletic white lady. Obviously non-athletic white. I'm trying to save my children's future. What? Whose rights got taken away here today? Whose right? Who lost their rights today? I just want to be a victim so bad that I've made myself a victim in a scenario where there are no victims. All of the athletes got exactly what they wanted, so I'm out here because somebody's got to be the victim, so it's me. I'm the victim. Just whoever the fuck you are, you're the victim now.
We're not going back. We're not doing that anymore. We have the law behind us.
No, you
Just
don't.
because California doesn't want, the politicians don't want to get on board, that doesn't matter. We're not doing this anymore.
Republicans
Turns out you might be. Turns out an executive order didn't hold a lot of weight for Gavin Newsom. And turns out that because nobody lost their ability to compete, doesn't really violate Title IX, does it?
lawmakers slammed Governor Newsom for not taking a stronger stance. During a podcast with Charlie Kirk, Newsom called the issue deeply unfair, but his office later praised CIF's compromise. It's unclear whether the rule change will be sufficient for the White House or if federal funds are still at risk. Last month, his administration rescinded a similar funding freeze.
Annette says, thank you, joining the Dollar Train. As a reminder, guys, I'm going to be a little shorter today. We're going to end it in about an hour here. So if you could help wipe out that goal, that'd be great. Did I not read this? Text says, you said you'd rather have lunch with people on right. I think you might be talking about the people from Jubilee. I don't remember exactly how I said that. Yeah, like I really enjoyed my time with Steven. I do find that given my background, it is like generally speaking, like socially, I'm more likely to get along with people on the right. Like we do get along a little better. I don't know exactly what you're talking about there. I think I might have said something that day that if I would have went to lunch after, I probably would have went to them. In fact, they did. They invited me to go to lunch, or some of them did. So, all right. Hey, Jen.
Okay. So, see people are real upset about trans people again. Another day, another issue. Trans people. Something that's not happening, and it gets people so fucking upset. It's insane.
It's very tough on them.
I mean, they should really be mad about all the regulations against like unicorns and stuff like that. That just, I wish they would really advocate for the unicorns. But anyways, so like Jay mentioned, he's going to be wrapping up a little short today. So we've got that gift goal in the top left-hand corner. If you could help us out, knock out that goal. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards helping us knock out or doing a dent to that goal. If you guys disagree with RTP and you would like to come on and talk in real time, the Venmo username, JenDub1, is the same as my Discord. So if you guys want to come in and talk to RTP, if you message me on Discord, I can bring you up in real time and you don't have to cry in the comments. So that's fantastic. If you haven't subscribed to us on Twitch, you can do so. I realized something yesterday when we were having that one event. If you guys use your Amazon Prime sub before, it's something you have to renew every month. If you don't do that, it doesn't automatically renew. So if you've got an Amazon Prime sub that you used before, you might want to double check and see if it expired on you. So if you were subscribed, just maybe double check that, because you can also use your Amazon Prime for a free sub over there. We've got 4 different memberships on YouTube and just a regular subscription for free. You can turn on the notifications so you can be notified whenever we go live. What else? If you guys missed it, RTP was on an episode of Jubilee Middle Ground. So if you look up on YouTube Jubilee Middle Ground, he was there. So if you want to check out that episode at some point, he did good. So
how much did that hurt for you to say I did good?
That was painful. I'm not gonna lie. That was rough, but I'm trying. So
thank you, Jen. I might cry. That's the first compliment
don't do that.
you gave me. I might
just make things weird. Don't be weird. Don't do weird shit.
My bad.
Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna end a little bit earlier today. So you guys help with that. So Beyonce is refusing to hire roofing companies that aren't women owned.
Oh no.
She hires only shingle ladies. Only shingle ladies.
You gotta go. You gotta go forever. All right. Russ Vogt, the author of Project 2025, is pretty upset, and all of these guys are pretty upset because the one thing you always have to remember is, like we said about trans people, Republicans are always fucking lying to you about what their real plans are, and when they get caught with their real plans, they just lie to your face. Russ Vought wrote Project 2025. He bragged that Trump was pretending that they weren't going to follow Project 2025. Project 2025 hinges on the fact that Russ Vought be made the OMB director, which then Trump made him, and now he's on the State of the Union being like, what are you guys talking about that Project 2025 for?
And do it in any way you can, and also to pull as much power into the executive branch as possible. You're very open about that. One of the things that you said in 2023 was specific to federal workers. I want to play that for our viewers.
We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly.
Thank you, Jessica. Said I love your show. I love you too, Jessica. Thank you.
Viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma.
Is that your goal as OMB director?
Look, I love how you cherry picked the quote on.
It's cherry picked. You're thinking of jerry rig or gerrymander, but it's a cherry picked.
Trauma. What I was referring to there was the bureaucracy. We do believe there's weaponized bureaucracy. We do believe that there are people who have been part of administrations that are fundamentally woke and weaponized against the American people. When you have the EPA put a 77-year-old Navy veteran named Joe Robertson in jail for doing ponds to fight wildfires on his lawn, that's not just the FBI, it's the EPA, and we do want to defund.
Yeah, this is what they all fucking do. This is why I'm so goddamn sick of these people, okay? He says that I want people to live in fear, and they're like, what do you say about that? He's like, oh, well, I didn't really say that, but the EPA threw this man in jail. I think, what was his name? He said his name. 77-year-old man in jail. Okay, well, two things. Number one, you just said you didn't want them to live in fear, but then you're bringing up something they did, so they deserve to live in fear. Two, the EPA doesn't throw anybody in jail. This Project 2025 guy doesn't seem to understand who puts people in jail. It's not the executive branch. It's it's not supposed to be. The case that he's talking about, and I'll get like it's been overturned. There was a man in, I want to say Montana, it might have been Wyoming, I can't remember. It was like near Yellowstone. And this man he had built like 4 collection ponds to store water, and he would provide water to people fighting fires. The problem with what he did, and the lie that he just told here, is that he didn't put the ponds on his land. They were on public land. He took land that wasn't his, and he built these ponds, and he didn't take care of these ponds. And the ponds fed into a tributary, and they were I don't remember what it is. Like you get like that black mud, and you get some sort of like bacteria that grows in those ponds, and that was feeding into the tributaries. And when he was asked not to do it, he refused. And then they went to court because he thought he was within his rights. And it turns out he wasn't within his rights to do that. And he was sentenced, I believe, to 15 months of prison and then like a few years of probation. I don't remember how many years. He might have just said it there. That's the actual case that happened. Now, you could argue whether or not that person deserves to go to prison for 15 months, but that's the law. And it wasn't the EPA that put him there. The EPA sued because he was doing something wrong, and the judge sentenced him to prison after a jury found them guilty. And this person wound up going to prison. He died. After he died, they wound up reversing the decision, and the money that he was supposed to pay back, which was like, I think it was like $120,000 or $130,000, they gave that back to his family. The government paid him. That's this whole story. Now remember, the only reason he's telling you this story is to tell you why bureaucrats should live in terror, why they should terrorize bureaucrats. This story has absolutely nothing to do with bureaucrats. It has everything to do with a man who broke the law, who was sentenced to go to jail because he broke the law. But they always, always, always fucking lie to you. so that they could justify and make you think that the bureaucracy is bad. Now, again, why does Russ Vought want you to eliminate the bureaucracy? Why does he want you to hate bureaucracy as much as he does? Because this is a self-avowed Christian nationalist. This is a person who doesn't believe in multiculturalism, who has said many times that multiculturalism is a stain on America, that it is not conducive to a free country. Not only is he a Christian nationalist, he is a white Christian nationalist, not because he says it, not because he's a member of a board, but because effectively his beliefs are that you should not bring in immigrants from anywhere besides Europe, white, you should only bring in white, and also these bureaucracies keep telling us that we can't rule by religion. That's who this man really is, and he won't tell you that because he's a bitch. All of them are bitches. Every fucking one of them. And they do this thing where they think that, look, I'm a God-fearing man, but God and politics are separate. So when I go and I work in politics, I'm going to fucking lie to everybody about the fact that my goal is to get my religion to run the country. But because I believe in this separation, I'm going to fucking lie to you, and I'm going to tell you that really the problem is not me, not Christianity, not white Christian males who have basically caused almost every problem we've ever had in this country. No. We are not the problem. And I'm not even talking about that. I'm leaving that at home, and I'm showing up just like Charlie Kirk, pretending that I have a view that isn't entirely shaped by my view of the Bible and my worship of bigotry.
And put those bureaucracies out of business. But I have great people at OMB, there are great people at the FAA, there are great people at the NIH who are doing hard work and important public service activities. And I think it's important to provide the full context of what people like me have said in the past. But we're not going to be receive pushback from the notion that we're going to dramatically change the deep, woke, and weaponized administrative state.
Yeah, no, I mean, again,
the deep, woke, and weaponized administrative state. Like, it's just buzzwords. Okay, he said he wants, he doesn't want people taking him out of context. So let's just play it in context. Here's what he said.
Have to kick over people's paradigms. You're going to have to kick over people's turfs. You're going to have to change people's understanding of things that they have invested their whole life into, a view of the world. And none of this is, their views of the world isn't rooted in the Constitution, and in some cases any version of the facts. But that's gonna cause a lot of turmoil within these bureaucracies, and you got to fight through it. And then they're gonna overlay the aspect of, oh my gosh, you guys are racist, and you guys don't care about us as people. You're gonna have to deal with that too, right? They are, one of the arguments that they're using in the press against me right now is they say, he called for trauma within the bureaucracies. Yeah, I called for trauma within the bureaucracies. The bureaucracies hate the American people.
Oh, is that out of context? Weird how when he went on, when he's on national TV, he's like, oh, it's not what I was saying. I was saying about a couple people. When he's not on national TV, when he's on Tucker Carlson, where he feels like he's safe, he says,
the American people. Trauma within the bureaucracies. Yeah, I called for trauma within the bureaucracies. The bureaucracies hate the American people.
Oh.
They want to put a 77-year-old, and did, a 77-year-old Navy veteran in jail for 18.
Same fucking reference. Isn't that weird? Is that weird? Same reference? But on national TV, he's like, oh, I didn't say that. And on Tucker, he's like, hey, not only did I say it, here I am doubling down on it right now. I want to traumatize the bureaucracy because they put a 77-year-old man in prison, Navy veteran. They have to add the veteran. No, they didn't. They can't. This guy, he just got done saying that these bureaucracies and all these people in power, they don't understand the Constitution. Well, bitch, it doesn't seem like you understand the Constitution either, because now twice you've been on in front of a big audience saying that the EPA threw somebody in jail. Turns out maybe you don't know the Constitution. Turns out maybe they do, you don't. Maybe this is the disconnect here, is that he thinks he understands it, so when people follow the Constitution, it confuses him.
Months for building 4 ponds on his ranch to fight wildfires.
Not his ranch, by the way, on public lands. Not his. That was the case. It had nothing to do with building them on his own land.
That's not the Department of Justice. That's the EPA. You go every agency, and it's not just big government. It's weaponized against the country.
Of course.
And so, yeah,
And by the way, how does the EPA suing this man mean that it's weaponized against the right? Literally, this scenario, you could just say the government is weaponized against the people because they prosecuted Harvey Weinstein. And if they can prosecute Harvey Weinstein, they can prosecute you. The government is weaponized against the American people because they prosecuted Bill Cosby. And if they can prosecute Bill Cosby, they can prosecute you. It's the same. This is the same. Like, what the fuck are you talking about here? So the EPA sued somebody, and then the Department of Justice brought charges. And so because the Department of Justice can ever bring charges, they're weaponized? I guess so. I guess, like, if that's the definition of weaponized, then yeah, look, we can't have police. We can't have courts. We can't have a Department of Justice. We can't have any of those things because that's the government, and I guess that's them weaponized against you. But the reality is he doesn't give a fuck about that guy. He just wants to be able to be an open bigot, and he wants to infiltrate the government to push his Christian nationalist, white nationalist ideas. And again, if you're defending this guy and you yourself are not a white nationalist, I've got questions for you. Why are you defending a guy who his sole goal is to get rid of multiculturalism? Why are you on board
would
with
want
that?
to provide trauma against that bureaucracy in a way that frees the American people from the people that have assumed the type of power that the Constitution and no law, no public debate ever gave them. Does that mean we dislike everyone working at federal agencies and want them to have a bad life? No, of course. There's a lot of people there who have come to serve and do great public service, and we want to affirm that, and we want to turn over the bureaucracies that are traumatizing the American people. Yeah.
Yeah, trauma. Who's feeling traumatized by the bureaucracy? Somebody give me an example of a time the bureaucracy traumatized them, please. I'd like to hear about that. Mary, thanks for joining the Dollar Train as well as Izzy and Danielle. Thank you guys so much. All right. Now here's Rush Vote denying that the administration is doing Project 2025, which is fucking insane.
Things that you have become known for is that you were one of the architects of Project 2025. And one of the things that was noteworthy during the campaign was that President Trump really distanced himself. He said he doesn't know anything about it. It's not something that he had any knowledge of. But obviously you did, and you're now there.
What they do with COVID? If you are upset about restrictions because of COVID, go talk to your local government. It has nothing to do with the federal bureaucracy. That's silly. The bureaucracy isn't the one that rolled out like COVID mandates. That's done on that was all done on a local level. And in most cases, that was the executive branch of wherever the fuck you live. That wasn't the bureaucracy. See how I'm beginning to think none of you understand the Constitution. I'm very concerned that Republicans have no clue what the Constitution is about. Are you talking about the IRS for a bureaucracy? That's fine. If you're somebody who believes taxation is theft, I will grant you that is you being terrorized by the bureaucracy. That them coming and collecting taxes that you owe that's probably terrorizing. I can agree with you there. I think you're wrong in thinking that taxation is theft, but if that's your belief, great. But if you're blaming like COVID stuff on the bureaucracy, then again, I'm concerned that you may not know what bureaucracy is, and you certainly don't know how the Constitution operates.
And I just want to show our viewers just some of what was on your checklist. A lot of them have been checked off from Project 2025. There are other.
Oh, so now that's all based on recommendations from Dr. Fauci. Oh, okay. So if our government does something and they take the opinion of somebody who you disagree with, it's the person whose opinion you disagree with that is the problem and not the government that enforced the restrictions. Got it.
Others that are kind of in the pipeline, including ending funding for PBS, NPR, and many other things. Is it fair to say that what you are doing now is, in part, enacting this very document that you and your colleagues worked very hard on, Project 2025?
No, of course not. The only people that are delusional about whether the president is the architect, the visionary, the originator of his own agenda that he was very public about throughout the campaign, in which you are seeing him in rapid fashion.
He wasn't very public about it. He had Agenda 47, which is copy and paste from Project 2025. And guess what came first? Project 2025. So it's weird. Like, is this parallel thinking? You know when like people get caught, comedians get caught stealing jokes, and they'll be like, no, I didn't steal the joke. It's parallel thinking. Is this the attempt to say that like Agenda 47 was just parallel thinking? It just so happened to correlate exactly with Project 2025. And there was not a single thing in Agenda 47 that wasn't in Project 2025. It was just like parallel thinking, and Project 2025 just happened to come first. No, they're just lying to you. They're both are great policy agendas. You didn't read it. And if you think they're great policy agendas, that's fine. But like, if you think Project 2025 is a great policy agenda, you're just a fascist, and you're also a white nationalist. Or, at the very least, you prefer that our country be fascist or white nationalist, even if those aren't your views. You would prefer that over, for some reason, all the rights you had taken away under Joe Biden that none of you can seem to tell me about.
Go through and accomplish are his adversaries. And I think it's one of the reasons why you had to have the last segment
Thanks,
with
Norma.
the leader of the Democrats, who are in such disarray, because instead of talking about the real issues of the forgotten men and women, they're coming up with these fake news stories.
I'm not suggesting that he's not in charge. I'm just saying.
Who are the forgotten men and women? The reason that we're upset with Project 2025 is because you're trying to strip the rights away from people. Who are these forgotten men and women that you're talking about, Russ Vogt? Can somebody tell me who the forgotten men and women are that Project 2025 helps? If you're talking about poor white people, what does Project 2025 do to help poor white people? If you're talking about Christianity, what does it do to actually help Christianity? Nothing. It just forces people to try to like live under your rule. But does it help? Does it help you at all? Does it change anything? I don't know. What are they fixing here?
That now it's pretty clear that what he wants to do and what you planned are dovetailing.
I think the president was very clear with his agenda, and he is going forward with that agenda, and he has been at the helm and the originator of all of these ideas.
Okay, last question. Other recommendations from Project 2025: eliminating the Fed, privatizing Fannie and Freddie, banning medication abortion. Are those still on the agenda?
What's on the agenda is what the president has put on the agenda, most of which he ran on. And you will continue to see the things that he's interested in doing, and those people like me will be executing that.
Oh, I don't even know. I have no idea what's going on. That's crazy. Every day you see Trump sign some fucking executive order that he doesn't even read, that somebody next to him reads for him, and it was written by this guy. By the way, what's that guy's name that reads Trump's executive orders? I'm fairly certain he's part of Russ Vogt's crew. Who is reading Trump's... what is that guy's name? Does anybody know it? Forget that guy's name. I'm going to guess. I should have looked this up, but I'm going to guess he's linked to Project 2025 or Heritage Foundation. Will Scharf. Who is Will? Nice name, dude. That's tough. That's a tough one. Let's see. Where did he work? Worked in politics, U.S. attorney. Then he worked on the confirmation hearings for Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. Ran for attorney general. He's just like a legitimately like career politician. Has he done anything but politics? Oh, no, there it is. Worked for the Federalist Society. Okay. Never mind. He was the president of the Harvard Federalist Society. We found it. Okay. There's the connection to vote. Works for the works for the Federalist Society. We got it now.
The OMB director.
And then they just plugged him. They took him right out of Harvard and they just plugged him into politics. All right. That makes perfect sense. All right. As a reminder, here's 2025. I think this is the hidden video. Let me make sure this is right. And again, he's saying that, like, he says publicly now that, actually, let's skip that one. He says publicly now that, like, Trump doesn't know about Project 2025, and this isn't Project 2025, but you can go watch this whole video. I think it's like 40 or 50 minutes long. In this video, he like brags openly. He's like, yeah, I mean, we can't really say that it's Project 2025 because, you know, it's supposed to be Trump's agenda, but it's our agenda.
Meet Russ Vogt. Russell Vogt, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget. He's been called the most dangerous MAGA diehard you've never heard of. Vogt is one of the key authors of the blueprint for a second Trump administration.
I think you have to rehabilitate Christian nationalism. You have the largest deportation in history, block funding for Planned Parenthood, block funding for fetal tissue research, and maintain law and order with the military. There's no think tank, no policy organization, no battle plan creator other than us for the worldview that I think Donald Trump has and that JD has.
It's nobody else. It's us. We're the ones. It's weird that he calls JD like JD right there, right? Because JD was bought and paid for by these people too. Here's him talking about multiculturalism. This is just, and by the way, multiculturalism is just saying, I like white Christians and I don't like other cultures.
We could save the country in a sense of, you know, the largest deportation in history, and once that starts, we're going to be winning a debate along the way about what that looks like, right? Yeah. And so that's going to cause us to get us off of multiculturalism, just to be able to.
Is that not? Goddamn, this was from 2023. Is that not exactly what happened? Is you start mass deportations and then you start the debate on multiculturalism. And he says we're going to be winning the debate. Now, you can argue whether or not they're winning the debate. I'd have to see current poll numbers as far as multiculturalism. But this is why the deportations don't make any fucking sense, folks. This is why when we say, like, why isn't it? How come they're not deporting people from like Europe? How come all of these raids are happening in places where people are working, and it's almost exclusively brown people? You just had the attack by that pro-Palestinian guy in Boulder, and he was here illegally. He was here on an overstayed visa. Weird how they're not going after. He kind of looked more white. I'm sure Muslims are next. I'm sure that's next. I'm sure that's coming. But you see, how did he know? How did he know we were going to do mass deportations right off the bat and then have a nationwide discussion about multiculturalism? It's almost like he planned it, right? It's almost like they knew what would happen when they did mass deportations like this and mass ICE raids. And it's almost like they filmed it and put it in front of our faces for a reason. And the reason I think that they do that is not that they know us, because they do know us. They knew how we were going to react, but more importantly, they know you, Republicans, and they know that your knee-jerk reaction is going to be to defend this. And so they sneak it in. They sneak in multiculturalism, and they sneak in these stories, and they start to convince you that the real problem in America is that there's all these people from other cultures, and they come from these shithole countries that are extremely violent, and they are bringing their violence here to America. And that's why America is so violent. And then they show you clips of violence. And you know, go to your timeline right now. Leave this for a second. Go to your Facebook, to your Twitter. All you Republicans, go look at it. What are you going to see? You're going to see violence perpetuated by people who aren't white. And what they won't show you is that when we had a mass influx of immigration, mostly brown people, our crime rates went down. How the fuck did that happen? If they're so violent and they're bringing their crime, and this is the problem with multiculturalism, then why did crime rates go down? You know what went up? Violence against Hispanic people. That rate's gone up. Hate crimes. That's gone up. Crimes against Muslims. That's gone up. We're seeing an uptick in all of these crimes against minorities. But what we're not seeing is an uptick in crime against white people perpetuated by minorities. There's crime against white people. perpetuated by minorities. They show you the video. They don't show you the stats. Why is that? Because this is a war. The reality is, if we want our lives to be safer, if we want our children to be safer, we should get rid of churches. White Christian men are the most dangerous people in this country. We should get rid of them, but they can't tell you that, right? Because this is a white Christian man. So they have to tell you that the real problem is multiculturalism and the rage, the crimes against people who are minorities. Those crimes are kind of warranted. Like, well, what would you do? And they get people hysterical and they get people violent. This is in Project 2025. This is the goal out of Russ Vogt's mouth himself, that what we will see, and I'll play it again, is mass deportations. And then it'll start a debate. And then we're going to win this debate about multiculturalism. And they will get you, Republicans, so afraid of immigrants that you don't really fucking care. You justify it to yourselves. You're like, look, I know this is bad. I know that we're targeting certain people, but reality is these are the people who are dangerous to us. And I'd rather live in a country where we were more safe and we trample on a few people's rights. So I'm going to keep supporting it. And it's just not true. If this was true, like if there were caravans of people coming from Venezuela and they were coming to America and they were just being violent and they were overrunning cities and they were starting gangs and they were creating violence. All these people that claimed they were seeking asylum, they come in now and they're violent. If all of that was true, you would find support. Many of us would support you. Like you wouldn't have won like a nail biter of an election. You would have won the popular vote by 10, 15 million. But it's not true. And we're human beings, and all of us are led by our emotions. And sometimes you have to stop and you have to take a step back and say, am I being manipulated right now? And the problem is none of you, very few of you are willing to step back and say, am I being manipulated? You see what happens when somebody like Admir steps back and is like, whoa, somebody who actually came here as an immigrant, and he's seeing the lies that are being told about immigrants, and he's like, I didn't think we were going to do this. Some people are figuring it out, but most of you are just easily duped. So you see these videos, you see Charlie Kirk, you see Russ Vogt, you see Tim Pool, you see all these ICE raids, you see the propaganda that they're pumping out every single day, and you think that these people are a danger to you, and you're ignoring the real danger to you. The real danger to you is authoritarian governments and white Christian dudes. And you're ignoring the authoritarian government, and you're ignoring the white Christian dudes so that you can go after immigrants.
The largest deportation in history, and once that starts, you're going to be winning a debate along the way about what that looks like, right? Yeah. And so that's going to cause us to get us.
Look it up. Look, we'll just show you. Let's look at violent crime by year. You just show me. You show me where all this immigrant crime is. We have I don't think we have 2024 yet, so this is up through 2023. This is the chart of violent crime since 1990. Now, I was alive in 91, and a lot of you guys were alive in the 90s. And I graduated high school right here in 2004. And most of you would say, and I probably would say if I watched the news, God, things were much simpler in 2004. When I graduated high school, there was way less violence. And I would say when I was a kid, I remember 1996 when the Olympics came to Atlanta. It was a big year for me. I remember that year very vividly. And I remember, I left the house in the summer. I left the house in the morning, and I came home at night, and I didn't have a cell phone, and I didn't talk to my parents. And the world was far less safe for me in 1996 than it is right now. Double. Dude, 636 per 100,000 were victims of violent crime. And now it's down to 363. How does this chart exist while immigration went up? You all say that immigration went up. We all agree immigration went up. We all agree that there were a bunch of asylum seekers that came in 2021 and 2020, 2021 and 2022, actually starting in 2019. So why didn't these numbers skyrocket? You're just being lied to every fucking day. And they're blaming immigrants. And you wonder to yourself, you look back and hear, how did all of those people in Germany fall for it? This is how. This is how. And you're still mad about it. You're still in the comments trying to figure out a way that you're going to justify this. oh, dude, this guy's crazy. You know why you think I'm crazy? Because you've seen a lot of videos and you've been told a lot of things, and they run the name Laken Riley through your head every fucking day so that you'll ignore the numbers and you'll think about the stories. There's 330 million people that live in this country. There will be a violent crime every single day. Every day. And some of those violent crimes are going to be perpetuated by people who are here illegally. That does not mean that we are somehow at this massive crisis of crime. We're at historic lows right now. And your president said we have to declare a state of emergency for historic lows in crime? That's why we're nervous. And Russ Vought's telling you exactly their plan. We're just going to do this. We're going to do mass deportations, and we're going to create a culture war, and we're going to get off multiculturalism.
It's going to cause us to get us off of multiculturalism just to be able to sustain and defend the deportation, right? If we're going to have legal immigration, can we get people that actually believe in Christianity? Is that something, or do we have to have,
Oh, we only want Christians, which is weird because, weirdly enough, if you're going to bring in people and you want Christianity to be, and this is why I say Russ Vogt is a white nationalist first and a Christian nationalist second, is because if you look at the numbers of these countries where people are coming from, they have higher rates of Christianity than Europe. These are Christians. You guys noticed it. You saw what happened. Look what happened in Florida. A lot of Hispanic people voted for Trump. A lot of Cubans voted for Trump. These are Christians. So where do they differ from you, Russ? Oh, multiculturalism, the racism part, the white nationalist part. That's where they're different than you. You want white Christians. You don't want Christians. You want white Christian nationalists.
We're not allowed to ask questions about Sharia law. So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation. And my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism, because I also believe in nationalism.
Remember like 15 minutes ago when I called him a Christian nationalist and you guys all got mad? I did that on purpose. He's a Christian. They say it. Even when they say it, you don't believe it. He just told you, I don't like multiculturalism. I want Christians and I want nationalism. I want white Christians, and that's it. And so we're going to kick off this mass deportation. We're going to start a culture war. And hopefully what comes out on the other side of that culture war is that Christians should be in charge. And we're still not believing this. Project 2025 isn't in place. By the way, that wasn't now. That was 2 years ago. How's he so accurately depicting exactly what Trump was going to do if he's not the author of Project 2025 and if Project 2025 isn't being implemented? This is more parallel thinking. They just happen to be on the same wavelength. Got it. Now here he is saying that Trump's supportive. And this is on a hidden camera. He knew, everybody knew, we all knew this since 2023, that Project 2025, Trump was running with it. They're admitting it on camera. And it's just crazy. Like, you think if Trump is smart, let's just say Trump's an intelligent person. Let's pretend what you guys say about Trump is true. He's an intelligent guy. And you have the author of Project 2025 saying, I need to be the OMB director. I'm going to be the OMB director. And as OMB director, I'm going to implement Project 2025. And Donald Trump is supportive of that. And this video got millions of, everybody's seen this video. Trump watches the news religiously. He saw this video. So if Trump really didn't want to do Project 2025 and it really wasn't Russ Vogt, then why did he choose Russ Vogt to be the OMB director? He saw this guy saying, like, I'm going to do Christian nationalism. We're going to get rid of multiculturalism. We are white Christian nationalists here. And Trump saw all this and said, yeah, fuck it, go for it anyways. Or is it maybe fair to say, maybe Trump likes that? Maybe Trump isn't a fan of multiculturalism. And is it fair to say you don't like multiculturalism? Is it fair to say that you're afraid to admit this to yourself? How many of you, be honest, how many of you that are here right now grew up in a predominantly white area? Probably a lot of you. So just like statistically speaking, Listen, now here's the chat. They're all going to lie. They're all about to lie about the neighborhoods that they grew up in. But like statistically speaking, if you're a white Christian, you grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. That's how this works. They're all going to lie about that. And they're all going to say that they have like Hispanic friends or a Hispanic wife. They all do that. They're all going to hide behind that right now. But the reality is it's just what you're comfortable in. So even if you don't have hatred for these people, you are more comfortable. I have to deal with that myself. Just internally. I grew up in a white Christian neighborhood. I live in a predominantly white Christian neighborhood. I go walking late at night through my neighborhood and I feel safe, even though there have been crimes committed in my neighborhood, even though my house has been broken into. Would I do that in downtown Phoenix? Probably not. Statistically speaking, I would bet that I get broken into on average more than somebody who lives in downtown Phoenix. But there are things that we learn to be comfortable with just because that's what we were raised in. And so like that familiarity feels safe to you. That's the type of stuff that we rarely address, and we never addressed it as Republicans. We never addressed the fact that we are not very comfortable when there are people who are different than us around. And so this is just a rich, privileged person who's like, I'm uncomfortable when there are people around me who are different. So I'm going to start a whole fucking race war and deport all these people so that I don't have to be uncomfortable anymore.
Happy with
some of that is male privilege too. Yeah, thank you, Travel Casey. White, there are no white javelinas. Well, there's probably like what's the albino javelinas? I don't know. I'll look that up. Somebody look up and see if there's albino javelinas. I don't know. I think javelina might already be. Is javelina already plural?
With the JD pick, I think it's transformative for sure. Yeah. And he's think of him as a member version of what we do. Yeah. So. There's no.
Just a reminder, about 20 more minutes is all we have left before the end of the show. If we can knock out as much of that goal as we can, that would be greatly appreciated. JJ, thanks for joining the dollar train. I saw that anima. I looked up the Will Sharf grenade thing. I saw it was time to show it today. SJ said Harvard is offering free classes on how the government and Constitution are supposed to work. Go check it out. Charles said, good job on Jubilee. Proud of you. And Bradley says, my friend was showing me his tool shed and pointed to a ladder. That's my step ladder, he said. I never knew my real ladder. Thank you.
No think tank, no policy organization, no battle plan creator other than us for the worldview that I think Donald Trump has and that JD has. The best example is like the campaign selected me to be the platform because of their views on my policy ideas, and they're not running from all of the negativity that I get from the press.
I see. So they haven't been spooked on you as a person, you don't think?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be their transition pick because then they have all these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
But no, the relationship is great.
The head of the Trump
See? I can't do it during the transition. They're not going to bring me in during the transition because all these stories. But look, guys, I know that publicly they're distancing themselves from me. By the way, what he was doing here is trying to get donations. He was trying to get support here. So he's like, look, guys, I know that like publicly people are talking about Project 2025. And so publicly Trump has had to distance himself from this and pretend it's not part of it. But the reality is like, I'm going to be part of this. I may not be part of the transition team, but they're going to bring me in. We're going to do this. And then they did. How did he know exactly what would happen? If Trump wasn't doing his plan, how's he so fucking accurate here? He's nailing it.
Transition team has not yet been appointed. But Vogt says that no matter who is named, he'll be able to hand over his Project 2025 battle plans directly.
Thanks,
if it's someone like Stephen Miller or Bob Lighthizer, then all the stuff gets plugged right in. If it's not, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But all of it will be designed for a theory of the case that President, if a battle plan is out there that will do what he wants, there are the people like me that have his trust that will be able to get it to him in whatever position we're at, or I could be at Center for New America, but the relationships will be there, the trust level will be there.
And are you going to like rebrand that second phase at all?
For what I do,
yeah.
The brand's not important.
Bill, you're fucking dumb, man. That's the problem with you. You're fucking dumb. I'm showing you a video of your guy admitting to Christian nationalism, and you're saying, because I'm showing you this clip that you're going to go more right. Yeah, dude, sorry. You're just fucking stupid, and you're emotional. You don't like that I'm pointing out problems with your party, and so it solidifies your view. I grew up in a cult, and this is how cults operate, is that when somebody points out the problem with your cult, and they point out real problems like this is obviously, like, this guy wrote Project 2025. Trump lied to you about it forever. And instead of being mad at Trump because now you're confused, instead, the confusion that you're feeling right now, the uncomfortability that you're feeling right now about this clip happening in front of you, you're not sure what to do with it. And so what you do is you project that uncomfortability on me, and it comes out as rage because you don't know how to manage your emotions. This is how this always works. This is what happened to me when people would come to me and tell me that the guy who started our church had child brides. It turned out to be true, by the way. And even once I found out it was true, I was mad at the person who brought it up because I'm like, you just hate my church. Maybe they hated my church. They probably did. But does that make it wrong? And maybe I hate Donald Trump. I do. Spoiler alert. I think he's a fucking moron. I don't like him. And I don't like the GOP because I used to be part of it. And I think it changed. And I think it turned into something that I no longer recognized. And by the way, I'm a different person now than I was then too. So yeah, I hate Donald Trump. Yeah, I think the GOP is fucking stupid. Yeah, I think this guy's a white nationalist. Yeah, I agree with your policies or disagree with your policies. All of that is true. All of that is true. But the emotion that you're experiencing right now, Bill, is that you're confronted with something that makes you uncomfortable. And because I'm presenting it to you, you're mad at me. But just remember, when you leave the stream and you stop pretending that you're big, bad, and tough behind a keyboard, remember later today that the thing that you were actually upset about is that I was showing you something that made you uncomfortable. And you're too big of a pussy to address it. And I hope someday you become less of a pussy and you address this. Because if you guys don't start addressing this shit, we're just slow walking into fascism. And we have to pick you guys off one by one. And by God, we're gonna do it. You don't think we're picking people off right and left? We are. Not everybody's cool with this. Not everybody's cool with the OMB director going, you know what I'm sick of in this country? Brown people. A lot of people hear that and they're like, huh, I'm not so sure about that. You're sure about it. Yeah, he's got a good point. But not everybody is. And so we're going to keep making you guys uncomfortable. This stream is to make you uncomfortable. This stream is to report what's happening right now. And we show shit that most other people don't show. And we tackle topics that not everybody tackles. But it's because I grew up in a cult and this shit makes me mad. And it makes me mad for you, Bill. The difference between you and I is I don't really hate you. I just think you're in a cult. And at some point, if you get out of it, your life is going to get so much better. It's once you learn how you can be manipulated, and everybody can be manipulated differently. You will never be manipulated by me, Bill. You'll never be manipulated by CNN, Bill. You won't be manipulated by Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Barack Obama or AOC or Bernie Sanders because their views are so far removed from yours that you'll never be manipulated by them. But you know who you can be manipulated by? The people that you agree with. And if you don't do your research and if you just knee-jerk react and say everything they do good, everything the other people do bad, then you're going to find yourself in a position where you don't know what's real and what's not. And I believe that's where you're at, Bill. I believe that's where most of you are at. Why do you think that Jubilee episode was so fucking lopsided? Was it because the people on our side were so much more or so much smarter? No, it's not. It's because when you are put in a position where you have to sit face to face with somebody else who has a differing view, and you are human enough to have a discussion without like hurling insults, it turns out you don't have a lot to say. It turns out you don't have a lot of good arguments. It turns out you don't have a lot of good data. And so I just hope you remember this, Bill, because I love you greatly, and thank you for being here. And I'm speaking directly to you from the comments. I hope you remember this for later. You're upset with me, but it's because you're uncomfortable with what I'm showing you. And just remember that when all this shit comes crashing down, that it wasn't really me that was the bad guy. It was the bad guys. It's not you, Bill. It's not me, Bill. It's this motherfucker right here. This is the guy that's pissing you off. Don't project that and put it on me.
And you're not worried that if it has...
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it.
Project 2025 on, he's going to go like, and you're.
Where's my data and arguments? Right here, dude. My argument is that he's lying on CNN about this not being planned, and I'm showing you the evidence. This is the data. This is the data.
I'm going to publish those.
No.
They go straight to.
Yeah, they're very, very close hold.
Okay.
Brilliant. It's been an education.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you very much. You can show us that.
There's that. Great news. Just got a text message from, it turns out Lori Vallow is sick. And so now it's going to start on Wednesday. So I do not have to leave early. I was going to leave in 10 minutes. We're going to make it through the whole episode. So thank God we planned it. No way. Lying on CNN? Jesus Christ. That's crazy. This what the fuck? I just showed you a video of one of your people lying, and you're like, oh, it was CNN. No, CNN didn't lie. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ, people, get it together. That was your guy lying. That wasn't CNN lying. Hey, Jen. Psychos. Hey.
So their argument is, nuh-uh.
Yeah, I guess. That's wild.
It's interesting.
Was that that wasn't even CNN right there, was it? Or was
I don't know. I wasn't watching that closely.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. I did have someone send me a friend on Discord, male rights. If you're still on Twitch, I thought you had sources you were gonna prove us wrong. So if you're still here, I accepted your message request. So if you wanna come own Jay, you have to reply back. Anyways, so since we're not wrapping up in 10 minutes, we've got more time to knock out the rest of that gift goal. If you look at that top left-hand corner, that's the balance of the gift goal. I think Jay may need to update it a little bit, but that's what we have to do each day. This is our job, as much as you guys disagree, because Jay's not. I don't dig holes. I just
what?
Thing, so dig holes.
I heard dick holes. I'm like, wait, what?
I mean,
dick holes?
dig holes.
Yeah.
I went on a debate with Ash and Paige and Reggie the other night, and some guy was saying that women need men because you guys build roads. That's that's your value as a man, is building roads and digging holes.
All right, well then that's fine, but go build roads then and shut the fuck up. If that's your argument, go build the roads.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So I mean, as much as you guys disagree, this is our job, and we are crowdfunded. So the Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards funding this goal and helping us do this each day, Monday through Friday. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. I mentioned earlier that if you used one before, it's something you have to update each month. It doesn't automatically renew. On YouTube, we have you can subscribe free, or we also have 4 different memberships. We did have an event yesterday that was a members only benefit, so we're planning on doing more of those in the future. So if you choose a membership, we can include you on those. If you disagree, like supposedly male rights did but didn't respond,
that sounds right.
It happened. So that Venmo is my Discord username. You can message me on Discord, and I can bring you up to talk to Jay in real time. If you can prove him wrong. We also, if you check out our link tree in the bio, we're on most social media platforms, and we've got merch. So yeah, there's all that. So my sister and I have been pranking each other for pretty much our whole lives.
Yeah.
Recently, I gave her some brownies that were hidden with Lego pieces baked in.
Okay.
When she finds out, she's gonna be shitting bricks.
All right. I just found something out that's horrible. I think I found out I was logged into my wrong PayPal for like a week. So I apologize if you guys have sent stuff to PayPal and I didn't read it. That's why. All right. In the bathroom laughing at the show is better than reading a shampoo bottle. Thank you. Thank you. Why are you watching my show in the bathroom also? Out of curiosity. Danny, thank you for the super chat. Wasn't me says I'll be under the desk when you're in office. And Jackie says no notes. Thank you very much, Jackie. All right. I don't know what to do with that. I have no idea what to do with that. That's crazy. And welcome to all the new subscribers. We appreciate it. Those paid subscriptions go a long way. help us out, and it also allows you, at least on Twitch, to watch it without commercials. So that's pretty cool. All right, moving on. I think I have some more Russ Vote stuff. Yeah, one more thing. Wait, no, I did that one. All right. Here is Margaret Brennan. I know this is CBS, which is probably fake news to you guys too. If when I show Fox, it's a problem. When I show Fox, I'm not showing this whole episode. When I show anybody else, it's fake news. But here is she's got on FDA Commissioner. I forget his. Is it Ed? Is it Ed Macri? I want to say it's Ed Macri, but I don't remember if that's his first name. I think it's Ed Macri. Here she is questioning the FDA director. If you remember, the FDA is doing some. This is a prediction, and I'm could absolutely be wrong on this. I don't want this to be taken as gospel, but I think that what RFK Jr. is doing is he's setting up himself and his friends to be able to sue pharmaceutical companies and use the government's position as leverage to be like, hey, well, the government believes this, and so we get to sue you. I think RFK is really butthurt, and I think that there's a lot of you that are that way. In fact, I was scrolling through, was it Facebook yesterday? I think it might have been Facebook. I'm rarely on there. I think it was on Facebook, and I was just baffled. I didn't know that there were still massive communities of anti-vaxxers. Like people who still show up every day and complain about the COVID vaccine as if the data hasn't overwhelmingly supported the fact that the COVID vaccine was safe and effective. And I think that what we have is we have a lot of people who chose their opinion early, and their opinion evolved. Their opinion went from we don't have enough data to prove this to now that the data is out and the data proves that it was safe and effective, we are going to hold to our original opinion that we don't have enough data, which is weird because we do. Here's Ed Markey talking about this administration's decision to no longer recommend the COVID vaccine. Now, when they chose to no longer recommend the COVID vaccine, is it because of any new information? No. When they made this announcement, did they discredit any information and say this was a lie? They did not. They just were like, fuck it, we're not recommending it anymore, specifically to pregnant mothers. And one of the issues that we have is that, yes, you Republicans think that everything the CDC says and FDA says is wrong. And by the way, the reason that you believe that is because people are grifting the fuck out of you. You know what was the largest growing sector during COVID? It was supplements. They're just selling you shit all the time now. If you go on OAN, they have these. There's a kit. I saw it. It's it's like a emergency preparedness kit, and there's a dose of ivermectin in there. And what's that other thing they take? I don't know if colloidal silver's in there, but it's this kit of all of these things you should take if you get COVID, while simultaneously telling you that COVID is no big deal and it didn't hurt anybody. They're also selling you a kit of stuff to help you with COVID that includes ivermectin, which now in multiple double-blind placebo studies, or I guess not, double-blind, I don't know if you do, you call it placebo studies, has shown ivermectin completely ineffective to treat COVID. It does nothing for you. But they want to keep grifting you, so they keep selling you on all of this shit while telling you that the grift is actually the regulated the regulated pharmaceutical companies. Do they lie to you? Yes. Do they get past regulation? Yes. Do they write regulation in many instances? Yes. Are they significantly more regulated than the supplement industry where you guys are taking your advice from? Absolutely. You are taking all of your advice from unregulated supplement salespeople. Dr. Oz, go to his website. RFK Jr., go look at his website. Kash Patel, look at their website. All these people have been selling you supplements. Alex Jones made most of his money selling you guys supplements. They scare you into the government bad, and then they sell you a bunch of shit with the fear that they've now generated. And now we've got them running the FDA.
Now, you just said don't trust the CDC.
We're saying it's going to be between a doctor and a patient until that committee meets or more experts weigh in or we get some clinical data. If there's zero clinical data, you're opining. I mean, it's a theory. And so we don't want to put out an absolute recommendation for kids with no clinical data.
There's tons of clinical data. Tons. This is so dirty what they're doing right now with both pregnant women and children. Do you know why there aren't double-blind, controlled placebo studies for children and pregnant women? Somebody take a guess why we don't have those studies.
We've got new subscribers.
Yeah, maybe because it's cruel. Maybe because people don't think you should experiment on children and pregnant women. Like, nobody wants to do it. Nobody's going to donate their kid for a clinical study. Nobody that's pregnant is going to be like, oh, I'm going to go do some clinical studies. That's why it's not specific to them. That's all they're saying, but there's plenty of data. The data says that you are far more safe if you are both a child or a pregnant person if you are vaccinated against COVID than if you're not. We have that data. So why is the FDA, the CDC, why aren't they saying, here's the best available data we have? We don't have these randomized controlled studies because of who this accounts for. So we're going to take that off the recommendation, and we're not going to do these studies ever. Because who the fuck is going to volunteer for these studies? Nobody's going to volunteer for an experimental medicine and hand their kid over or go take experimental medications when you are pregnant. Of course you're not going to do that. So instead of just being honest about that, they decided to pull it from the website, which now means there are going to be people who are like, I'm not going to take that vaccine, because all the anti-vaxxers are like, well, why do you think they pulled it? Why do you think they don't recommend it anymore? And now you're going to have people who are pregnant and they should be vaccinated statistically. Not to say that there can't be side effects if you are vaccinated, but statistically speaking, you're safer if you're vaccinated than if you're not. And now they're going to say, oh, the government pulled it. There must be a reason for that. There is no reason. And he's telling you, we don't have a reason for it. We just pulled it. So we're going to make people unsure, and you should just talk to your doctor. But we're not going to have any guidelines on there. What if your doctor's an anti-vaxxer? What if your doctor hasn't checked the data? How do you know that your doctor has checked the data? You just can't. This is such a bizarre thing that they're doing, to just get rid of this recommendation, all to support their own egos, because they claimed that the vaccine, and RFK, you can find him. You can find Dr. Oz time and time again. We're going to find out that this is actually more dangerous than COVID. And they have found none of that. They have been unable to prove with any sort of scientific data that people who were vaccinated were less safe than people who were vaccinated. It's the same thing they do with immigration. Stories. All of you have seen stories. All of you have seen an athlete falling down, and they just tell you that was COVID. In fact, I don't think any of them have ever linked back to the vaccine. Not one. But the story comes out. They show you the picture. They kind of like insinuate that this is a COVID response, that this is a vaccine response. And then you go along your way believing that this is a vaccine response. And here we are. Here we are years later. You still think it was a vaccine response. And now they're just putting it up there. I think it's pride. I think it's arrogance. I just think that they think that they were right and that everybody's lying. And the only reason they're not right is because everybody else is lying. But they're certainly not following gold standard data. They're just going with their opinions now over at the FDA.
Recommendation for kids with no clinical data.
So you made this pronouncement as well on pregnant women. There is data. Researchers in the UK analyzed a series of 67 studies, which included 1.8 million.
Sorry, my camera zooms on itself, and I have this knot in my back, so I keep moving around, and I think it's making the camera zoom. So I'm trying to hold a little more still.
Women. And the journal BMJ Global Health published it. People can Google it at home. And it says the COVID vaccine in pregnant women is highly effective in reducing the odds of maternal SARS-CoV-2 infection, hospital admission, and improves pregnancy outcomes with no serious safety concerns. This is data that shows that it is recommended or could be advised for pregnant women to take this vaccine. Why do you find otherwise?
There's no randomized controlled trial. That's the gold standard. Those 67 studies are mixed. The data in pregnant women is different for healthy versus women with a comorbid condition. So it's a very mixed bag. So we're saying your obstetrician, your primary care doctor, and the pregnant woman should together decide whether or not to get it. 12%.
See, that already exists, though. Like, you already can decide with your doctor whether or not you should get it. What's interesting here is they've decided not to present the most like the best available data. And the best available data, and Jen just sent me a bunch of studies, and she showed it. There are studies that on people who are pregnant, but they are not random control studies. Right? That's it. That's the only difference. And so they've decided not to show you the best available data. They've told you just talk to your doctor instead. Why? Because I think it makes them look bad. I think it makes them look bad when now they're in a place where they're supposed to be transparent and honest, and they're going to have to put on their website that they were wrong about the data, or at the very least that they don't have any data that says otherwise. And so they've just decided, rather than admit that they were wrong and do the right thing, they're like, you know, fuck it. We'll just hide it from people.
Percent of pregnant women last year got the COVID shot.
What? A woman and a doctor should decide together how to treat her? What a concept. Yeah. What if we did that across the board? That'd be crazy, Republicans.
So people have serious concerns, and it's probably because they want to see a randomized trial data. The randomized trial in pregnant women.
The world moves on. And you published in the New England Journal of Medicine on May 20th, in that report you referenced, you listed pregnancy as an underlying medical condition that increases a person's risk for severe COVID. You said that. So then 7 days later, you joined.
Yeah, exactly, Amy. It's to support their bank accounts. Not that. Well, I don't know. I think it's ego. I don't know if this is bank accounts, to be honest. I think that there are people. I don't know what Marky's. I don't know if he sells supplements, so it could be. But I think it's ego.
In this video announcement saying you should drop the recommendation for the COVID vaccine in healthy pregnant women. So what changed in the 7 days?
In the New England Journal of Medicine, we simply list what the CDC has traditionally defined as high risk, and we're just saying decide with your doctor. We're not saying one way or the other. And the randomized
data
trial,
and information as well from you and your.
Yeah, we're just saying don't look at it. Don't look at this data, please. It's not good for us. This data looks really bad for us. Don't look at science anymore. Just ask your doctor instead. But now that we're in charge and we're at the FDA and we're looking at these studies and we don't have any studies that back us up, we're just gonna now change course and we're gonna be like, don't look at it. Ask your doctor.
Here's the data on pregnant women.
How are you gonna do your own research, by the way? If you don't know where to get the research.
Randomized control trial was set up and it was closed without any explanation. We wanted to see that trial complete so women can have information that in a randomized control trial, which is the gold standard.
You see the people talking about trans people in the chat already? You guys are obsessed. We can't even talk about vaccines without you guys talking about trans people. Get it the fuck together, Republicans. Get it together. If you need to go fire one off real quick so that you can get your mind off it and come back. But Jesus Christ.
This is what the data shows. We don't have those data.
All right. It is still unclear what pregnant women now should do until they get the data that
I'd say talk to their doctor.
When do they get the data you're promising? All these controlled studies.
In the absence of data, they should talk to their doctor, and their doctor will use their best wisdom and judgment.
FDA Commissioner, thank you for trying to help clear this up. Up next, the potential impact.
Jen, I see what you're sending me. I think, Jen, that study, you can look this up. My understanding is there have been no studies that are done solely. I can just show you what Jen's sending, actually. Randomized controlled trials of COVID-19 vaccines in pregnant women have demonstrated no safety concerns and a significant reduction in SARS-CoV-2 infection. Specifically, fully vaccinated pregnant women experience a 61% reduction in the odds of contracting the virus. What I'm saying here, Jen, is, and this you'll want to double check this, because from my research, what I saw is, and what I think he's saying is that those the studies that you're pointing at aren't just pregnant women. There were pregnant women included in those studies, and what he's trying to say is because there is no study that only includes pregnant women, that there is no study that can be conclusive. If I'm wrong about that, that is great news, because then he's even more wrong. But that was what my research told me this morning. You may want to check that, though. But good clarification there. That's why Jen's the greatest. Clarification that, like, pregnant women, there is data on pregnant women who have taken the COVID vaccine, and it shows what she said, a 61% reduction. That's significant. If you don't want to get it, that's fine. If you decide you'd rather not get it, and maybe you live like in rural Montana, maybe you don't see anybody, right? Like maybe you live on a ranch, and the only people you see is your family, and nobody goes anywhere. The likelihood of you getting COVID is almost zero. And so at that point, for you personally, would it statistically make sense not to be vaccinated? Sure. If there's side effects to the COVID vaccine, which there are, and you live completely isolated from other people who might give you COVID, then yeah, there are scenarios where statistically speaking, it's going to make sense for you not to be vaccinated. But if you are just a regular person with kids who go to school, or you go out and you see people and you are pregnant, statistically, you're better off being vaccinated. I just don't understand why this is like a conversation. Well, I do understand. The reason that we have to have this conversation over and over and over again is because they consistently want us at each other's throats. That's why. That's why you guys think that COVID was like this big conspiracy with government overreach. There was virtually no government overreach. Let's talk about it honestly. What percentage of the people here are in the military? Almost none, right? Like 20%, maybe? Not almost none, sorry. Like a minority. You can raise your hand here if you're currently in the military. I can only see YouTube. I think there's 800 people YouTube. I don't know how many total, but raise your hand if you're currently in the military. We can figure that out. Those of you who are in the military, or if you work for the government, those of you in the military or work for the government, you may have been impacted by your decision not to get vaccinated. But that is a tiny, tiny fraction of the American population of people who did not want to be vaccinated, who lost their job because they didn't want to get vaccinated. That happened. We can argue whether or not that's okay. I would probably argue that if you are getting other people sick, it's fair. It's fair. And I would argue now that as we understand COVID more, and as the strains have gotten weaker and deaths have gone down, I do think that like there's ways to get around that. You can get tested every day. There's ways around it. But if you want to say that's infringing on your rights, that's fine. I might agree with you. We could probably find some agreement there. But this idea that the government had this heavy hand and they came through our country and they forced people to be vaccinated, it just isn't reality. That never fucking happened. I don't know how we got to a point where millions of Americans think Joe Biden forced you to get vaccinated. It never happened. The vaccine mandates were just in specific instances, and most vaccine mandates were done on a local level. There was no widespread, big pharma, Anthony Fauci COVID vaccine conspiracy that forced you to be vaccinated. Most of you who hate vaccines probably didn't get vaccinated. Why aren't you in jail? Joe Biden was president for 4 years. How'd you avoid jail? What happened? If we were forcing you to do it, shouldn't you guys have all been in jail? Millions of you. You're all on here right now mocking vaccines. You're allowed to do it. Do you go to school? Do you go to work? Do you go outside? None of you went to jail? This is what's crazy about, like, I understand if they're scaring you, like, hey, if you get vaccine mandates, they use that. They're like, if they do vaccine mandates, you're going to lose your rights. And then it didn't happen. And you're like, we're going to lose our rights. And you're still stuck in 2019 for a conspiracy theory that never materialized. And you're still upset about it, and you still hate us. You don't think that's by design? You don't think that maybe they want you just to, like, stay mad so that you'll keep voting for them and so that you'll ignore the shit that's going on right now? I can't believe we still have to talk about vaccines. It's crazy. Get them. And if you don't get them, fine. Nobody's forcing you to. But you don't get to say that, like, statistically you made the right decision, because statistically you didn't. If new information comes out down the road 5 years from now and it turns out that it was really dangerous and we all shouldn't have been vaccinated, we'll all you can come on the show, you can tell us how right you were, you can celebrate it. But until you're right, could you just chill for like 2 seconds? This is just it's one after another. Now here's Comey. Here's James Comey here. Coming on Fox News to scare you some more. Now we got a new conspiracy. Don't pay attention to the mass deportations. Don't pay attention to the trade shit. This is a member of Congress. What are we going to focus on now, Republicans? Are we going to focus on anything that's happening right now? Are we going to write new legislation? Are we going to fix those broken asylum laws that you hate? Are we going to do anything for our veterans? No, probably not. Here's what the Republicans in Congress are going to focus on now.
That's all they've done. They don't have an ideology. Our good friend Stephen Miller said it well in an interview a couple of days ago. There is no ideology. There is no vision by the Democrat Party. They just want to obstruct. They want to create fear in the voters. That
obstruct what? I want to know what the fuck we're obstructing. You guys aren't doing anything. I would love to obstruct. We don't even get a chance to obstruct anything. These motherfuckers, Comer, you're not doing anything. Who's obstructing anything? Where's this legislation? You've passed one bill. And all that happened, the Democrats just voted against it. What are we obstructing? You guys are literally doing absolutely nothing. Stop obstructing. What? Stop obstructing you sitting there doing nothing, relitigating 4 years of is Joe Biden good or is Joe Biden bad? Bro, who the fuck cares? Honest to God. Let's just say everything you believe about Joe Biden was true, that he was functionally unable to do his job, that somebody else was using the auto pen. Okay. What should we do about it? Is that's super important? Why is that really important? It's not. It's because we are so bipartisan that you guys are going to be, it's all you're going to talk about is this shit, and it doesn't affect your life even the slightest. None of this affects you at all. You just don't like that Trump lost. You want retribution, and you want everybody on our side of the aisle to. And by the way, even if this was true, this is the part you guys don't understand. Even if all of this was true, it would not matter how bad Joe Biden was. If you guys keep going after Joe Biden, and let's say you're just right, all we're going to realize is man, we really should have brought up Bernie Sanders. It's not going to turn anybody to Trump. It's not going to make us think you guys are the good guys. You're still doing a bunch of fucked up things. And you still elected a felon. You could add Nikki Haley. You could add Ron DeSantis. You could add Marco Rubio. You could add any of these non-felons, and you chose the felon. None of what you're going to do is going to vindicate Trump. He's still a dirtbag politician. He's still a crook. He's still a scumbag. He's still milking you guys for money. He's still running a race war right now. None of this would change. I don't know if you guys think that proving that Joe Biden was bad matters at all. It doesn't, but that's what you guys are going to focus on. Amy Lynn said, Republicans are obsessed with sex origins, especially children's. They're weird. Ace said, military bitching about vaccines is hilarious. Yeah, they've been forced vaccinated forever. If you guys have been in the military pre-COVID, you all got forced vaccines. Asta Sophia said, I was going to bring up mad, crazy, funny joke, but after all this reading in the chat, my head got tired. So instead, just you get chip in for me. You rock as usual. Thank you.
That the Republicans are somehow a threat to.
He's not a felon. See, Jesus, what do we do about this, guys? I honestly, what do you do when somebody says he's not a felon? What do we do? He was convicted of a felony. That's what a felon is. Convicted of a felony. It wasn't overturned. He's still a felon. He's just not in jail because he's president. And they literally said that we can't put him in jail because he's the president. He won the presidency, so we're just gonna now we can't put him in jail because the Supreme Court basically said he has immunity while he's president, but the ability to remove a president lies with Congress, and so we have this weird constitutional crisis where we have somebody who should be in jail, but we can't put him in jail because the right to put that person in jail resides with Congress, which is held by Republicans, and they're obviously not going to remove him in office so that we can put him in jail, right? That's why he's not in jail. You guys think a loophole makes him not a felon? He's a felon, and you knew he was a felon on November 6th when you went in and voted for him. You just don't care.
Democracy, when all the evidence shows that everything they've done over the last 4.5 years has been a threat to democracy. And one more thing, Maria, I said next week.
Name one thing we did that was a threat to democracy.
This is Sunday, so we're talking about in a couple of days. In a matter of days, hours, we should be able to hopefully announce something about these 5 individuals coming in.
Well, we're going to keep on it, and I'm going to come back to you in a couple of days. If I don't see it, we're counting on you, we're counting on Ed Martin, and we're counting on Pam Bondi. Thank you, John.
None of that shit matters. That's what's crazy. None of it. None of it fucking matters. And it's just a way for Congress to continue not to do anything they're supposed to do. Then she brings on Ronnie Jackson. And just for anybody that's new here, Ronnie Jackson was Trump's doctor during his first administration, and then he ran. Is he a senator? He's a senator, right? Is right, or is he a congressman? He's a congressman. That's right. He represents where? Which district? 13th, Texas 13th. So Ronnie Jackson was the president's doctor, and he was nicknamed the Candyman. He was nicknamed the Candyman because he just handed out drugs. He would literally, when you got on Air Force One, you would get a Ziploc baggie full of drugs, and those drugs were like uppers and downers to help you sleep, to help you get back up, to pay attention. Which I don't really have that big of a problem with our elected leaders, especially if they're prescribed different medications. I mean, I'm not very functional when I don't take Adderall, so I'm fine with that. But this was unprescribed. Not only did Ronnie Jackson hand out unprescribed medication to people in Ziploc baggies, he also told us Trump was 6'3", like 220 pounds. He is neither 6'3" nor 220 pounds. And he openly, like, this is a guy who has lied to us many, many times. People also have a lot of, oh, there goes the zoom. Let me try that again. Zoom it back to normal. Many people have tried to warn us about him. There we go. Jesus Christ, that got big. Many people have tried to warn us about him when it came to Trump's injury on his ear, which I've never seen any explanation of how, like, a bullet hit that ear and just left like a small scratch. It was obviously shrapnel, right? It was obviously something besides a bullet. But Ronnie Jackson, who wasn't the attending physician, who wasn't there that day, he's the one that put out the statement of like, oh, no, Trump's good. Let me try and fix this. It's so big. There we go. That's a little better. Thank you. This is a guy who lies consistently. So before we get to Ronnie Jackson and before he starts talking about people's principles, I just wanted to remind you that this man is a chronic liar. Now we're going to talk about him accusing people of lying.
After the Robert Hur tapes were released that were obviously showing Joe Biden's performance in real time in those Robert Hur tapes, right after that, the administration, the former administration releases the fact that Joe Biden has prostate cancer, and it's very aggressive. How does prostate cancer go from nothing to really aggressive in just a short few months?
Well, interestingly enough, this is a doctor, and this is a question I feel like anybody should be able to answer. Any of you ever had a relative diagnosed with like stage 4 cancer that was shocking? My dad went from, my dad was out there. God damn, I got to fix this thing. My dad was out working in the yard every day. He was out. God, what the fuck? I don't know what to do here. Do I do it slowly? That's better. My dad was working every day, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he had this diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. It happens all the time, especially if you're not doing like screenings. This shit happens all the time. But I also want to point out that having cancer would not have made him like not remember things. That's what the treatment does. Like, the treatment is what really fucked up my dad. It wasn't like cognitively he really struggled once we started the treatment. Chemotherapy is no fucking joke. And we've had multiple doctors now come forward and say, like, yeah, this is an aggressive type of cancer. It happens quickly. And so it sometimes we don't catch it in time. The bigger, the better. So now here's Ronnie Jackson to float conspiracy theories with Maria Bartiromo.
In just a short few months.
Well, that's a little bit unbelievable as well, Maria. They claim that they diagnosed it on a Friday, that they biopsied it on the same day, got the results back, found out that it was prostate cancer, and then they basically realized that it metastasized all over his body. That's a little unbelievable if you ask.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know who claimed it. I looked for this claim. I don't know who made that claim. I will say that if anybody's going to get results quickly, it's going to be a former president. But I don't even know where he's getting that claim. I tried to look that up. If you guys have a source on that, I have no fucking clue where that claim came from.
Me. And so I don't think that happened. I think it was a diversion. It was right before the book came out from Jake Tapper and right after the Hur tape. So I think they were trying to create some sympathy for the former president. And, we're going to get to the bottom of this. There's going to be a lot of whistleblowers.
You know how fucking sick this is? That not only are they saying that a terminal cancer diagnosis was a way to not be criticized, But now we're going to use our resources in Congress to research this. The guy's going to die. Whatever the fuck you think about people, like grandkids are about to lose their grandpa. A wife is about to lose her husband. Kids are about to lose their husband. Friends are about to lose a friend. And they're turning it into a conspiracy theory. This is sick. It's honestly so fucking sick. And you guys got so mad at us for having the audacity just to be like, hey, why are they saying that gunshot hit Trump's ear and not shrapnel? Like, why aren't they being clear on that? Where's the investigation into that? We're not going to do an investigation into that. We're going to do this. We're just going to smear Joe Biden. You guys are fucking monsters. Fucking monsters for doing this shit.
Come out of the woodwork over the next few months. You wait and see. We're going to learn a lot.
So that's what's happening. Where is this going? Do you think were there crimes committed?
Absolutely. I think if people were, signing pardons, signing executive orders, signing legislation without the president knowing about it, absolutely, that's a crime. Those people have to be held accountable, and we're going to.
So there's no evidence of that. It would be one thing if they had evidence that Joe Biden didn't know what he was signing, but they don't. They just have a story. They have a story that somebody said he used AutoPen, which every president does. So if Joe Biden uses AutoPen and Donald Trump uses AutoPen and Obama uses AutoPen, then is there a story? No, there is not. That's not a story. So the one piece of information that you have that's real, that AutoPen was used, is the basis for this idea that he didn't know what he was signing and that they hid cancer. You know how sick this is? This is a member of Congress. He's elected to go and write bills. The people of Texas elected him to go fucking legislate. And instead, we're on Fox News, and we're about to waste more time investigating Joe Biden. Why? You know why they're doing it? Because they're not allowed to do anything. Because this guy right here, he's a bitch. And Comer before him, a bitch. And all of you are bitches, afraid of Donald Trump. And so rather than admitting that you're so cucked out that you're not allowed to legislate and you have to just sit back and watch Trump run the country by executive order, you have to figure out some way to make the people in your district think you're doing a goddamn thing. And the best thing you could come up with is to be fucking cruel to a man who's about to die. That's the best you can come up with with bullshit evidence. No evidence. And that's what he just said it. What evidence do you have? Oh, there's going to be some that comes out. They're just going to predict that more shit will come out. And you guys nod along with that. Yeah, there must be more that's going to come out. Or Joe Biden was an old guy that was president. And like presidents before him, he used AutoPen. And when he was investigated by Robert Hur, he stumbled over his words. But he sat there for 9 fucking hours. 9 fucking hours. And the best you can come up with is he can't remember exactly where he stored some documents. Have you listened to the Hur tapes? That's the contention. When they say those Hur tapes came out and they wanted to obfuscate, what they don't want to tell you is that Joe Biden talked to him for 9 hours. And Joe Biden went into great detail about a lot of things. And a few things, like at the time, where did he keep, like 3 years ago, where did he keep specific information? He was like, man, I don't know at that time. He specifically said, like, I don't know at that time. Like, that was when my son had just died. There's a lot of time periods during that time that I just don't really remember, which is normal in somebody who experiences trauma or a traumatic event like losing your son, which would be a traumatic event for all of us. I listened to the tapes. He forgot some things. He's clearly an old man. That's the evidence that you have. And because you guys are so cucked to Donald Trump and you're not allowed to do anything, just let this big fucking bitch run the whole country by executive order. And because you guys don't want to admit that you're too cucked to do anything about it, to do the job you were elected, now you're making up conspiracy theories about a man who is dying so that nobody realizes that you're not doing a goddamn thing. Incredible stuff by Ronnie Jackson. The cruelty is what's baffling to me about you people. The absolute cruelty. Listen, here's the evidence. Here's the evidence that he has.
Well, if you ask me. And so I don't think that happened. I think it was a diversion. It was right before the book came out from Jake Tapper and right after the Her tape. So I think they were trying to create some sympathy for the former president. And, we're going to get to the bottom of this. There's going to be a lot of whistleblowers that are going to come out of the woodwork over the next few months. You wait and see. We're going to learn a lot.
Just a prediction. This is all based on a prediction that there was this. You want to know what's not going to happen? This is going nowhere. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. If he's wrong, if any of you are wrong, you know what you'll do? You'll pretend that Democrats blocked it. It's what you do with everything. Ever since Trump came in office, there's been this, we're going to lock up Hillary. We're going to lock up the deep state. We're going to lock up Obama. What happened? Oh, well, the Democrats blocked it. We're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Mexico's like, get fucked. And what do you guys say? Oh, it's the Democrats blocked it. We're going to win. We're going to win in 2020. What happened? Oh, you guys cheated. Nothing that Donald Trump has said has come true. How'd that birth certificate thing go? Turns out Obama was born in America? Oh, damn. Did he admit that? No. They just made up a fake document. They just didn't care about it. They didn't prove anything. Kick the can down the road. When are you do to demand answers from your people? Give me an answer that they've come to. We're talking about Her right now. What did Her, when he did his investigation, what did Robert Her conclude? He concluded that Joe Biden had some classified documents, and when he was made aware that he may have classified documents, he invited NARA to come go through those documents and take them. That was the conclusion of Robert Her. That Joe Biden had classified documents and he gave them back. And you guys try and make that like it's not the same story. What did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump had classified documents. NARA asked for them back. Joe Biden never even had to be asked. In fact, he reached out to NARA and said, can you come go through these and make sure that nothing I have here is classified? And they said, on it. And they came and they went through it. NARA found out that they were missing documents, so they reached out to Trump and said, send those back. And he said, no. And they said, okay. And then they reached out again and said, please. And he said, no. And then they reached out again and said, please. And he said, no. And so they went to the FBI and they said, look, these are ours. NARA exists to keep these records. They're for us, all of us here. We own the records. And NARA works for all of us, not for Trump. They work for all of us to preserve records. And NARA went then to the FBI and we're like, look, he's supposed to give them back. He won't give them back. So the FBI reached out and said, give them to us. And he said, okay. And he gave some. And then the FBI went to NARA and they said, hey, is this everything? And they're like, no, we're missing so much more stuff. So the FBI said, we need all of the things that NARA has asked for. And Trump said, okay. And then they sent some. And then NARA said, no, we need everything. And they had specific documents. So then the FBI asked Trump's lawyers specifically for specific documents. And Trump said, mm-mm. And so then after NARA asked 3 times, after the FBI asked 3 times, then they went to a judge and they got a warrant for a former president, which never fucking happens. And then they went to Mar-a-Lago and they raided Mar-a-Lago. And what did they find? They found classified documents sitting on a fucking stage. They found classified documents sitting in a fucking bathroom. And they found the documents that Trump hid from them. And then after they found all of that, they took it back and NARA said, well, we're still missing some shit. And then we get an audio recording of a journalist who's writing a book about Trump's chief of staff. And on that audio, Trump is holding up something and he's telling the people that are recording him, these are classified documents that I should not be showing you. And you're playing whataboutism. This is the game. Everything they do, every time Trump does something wrong, he just makes you think about somebody else that did something wrong. These stories aren't even remotely the same. Joe Biden and Mike Pence cooperated with NARA. Donald Trump did not. Donald Trump did not, to the point that the FBI had to raid his house, and he got advanced warning that they were coming. It wasn't even like a trick. They're like, dude, we're going to come. We're just going to come get these. And they're like, when? And they're like, this morning. And so they're like, all right. And Donald's like, all right, I'm going to get out of here. I'll just leave my lawyer here. And so Donald Trump's lawyer was waiting for them because he knew they were coming. It wasn't a surprise raid. They didn't break in the middle of the night. They didn't go through Melania's underwear drawer. All this shit that they tell you to try and make it seem that Joe Biden did the same thing is all just a way for you to ignore that this guy's a fucking criminal. And Ronnie Jackson, his buddy, is in Congress to do nothing. They're not doing anything. They're relitigating this. Who the fuck cares? How does this affect your life? Is this going to help you make more money at work? Is this going to help you afford that new house? Is this going to help you pay for medical bills? Is this going to give your kid a better education? Is any of this going to help you? So why the fuck are they doing it? What, they're an investigative branch now? Is that what you guys expect out of your Republicans in Congress now? Just like to investigate shit? Oh, they're the FBI now. We don't want them doing legislation. Let's just have them investigate Joe Biden. That's where we're at. Your party's a joke, an absolute joke. They don't do anything, but they keep you so worked up and so hysterical that you don't realize they're not doing anything. This motherfucker has a signed Trump hat behind him. Dude, get off his nuts and do your fucking job. Get off the president's nuts and do your job. You're supposed to be co-equal. Why the fuck do you guys all have like trophies of Donald Trump behind you? Why are you all supporting his merch all the time? This is bizarre. It's so fucking weird. Go do your job, please. That would be great.
So that's what's happening. Where is this going? Do you think were there crimes committed?
Absolutely. I think if people were...
Hold on. Absolutely. Were crimes committed? Absolutely. What's your evidence? Here's his evidence.
I think if people were, signing pardons, signing executive orders, signing legislation without the president knowing about it, absolutely, that's a crime.
Yeah, but do you have any evidence of that? No. This is the problem. You're willing to let your politicians tell you absolutely a crime was committed without knowing any evidence yet. It's all gut. It's all feeling. It's all emotion. This is why you guys are so mad at me right now. This is why you guys wake up pissed every day. You wake up mad every day because you're just getting worked into oblivion by a bunch of dumb fuck grifters. This guy wasn't like, he was removed from the military. He's not allowed to practice medicine with the military. Why? Because he's such a fuck. He literally is such a dumb fuck and a corrupt fuck that the military is like, no, but Republican Congress, we've got a place for you. Rick Scott, Rick Scott stole billions of dollars from the government. And then you guys elected him as a fucking senator. And he's one of your most powerful senators. If you want to be a Republican legislator, go commit some crimes first. Don't show up with a clean record. Go commit some crimes. Then they'll take you seriously.
Those people have to be held accountable, and we're going to find out who those people were. We're going to find out that was going on.
We are going to find out that was going on. This hypothetical I just laid out, we're gonna prove that this hypothetical is true. What the fuck is Congress doing? This isn't the role of Congress. I'm done with you guys talking about the Constitution. You don't get to anymore. You don't get that privilege anymore. You don't get to talk about Constitution. What are we talking about? Your job is to write bills. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Because these dumb fuck Republicans won't write a bill, so I'm just sitting here collecting dust. Because they're trying to play like culture warriors. They're all trying to create their podcast for when they leave. In fact, most of them have a podcast now. They want to sell merch. They want to be on Fox News. They're all just media whores. And that's who you guys elect now. And you don't give a shit that they don't do anything. They just do whatever Fox News tells them to do. Make sure that you guys are showing up every day running interference for Trump. Okay. Should we write bills? No. Don't write bills, please. No bills. Just support Trump with whatever he does. If you do write bills, though, make sure that you write into the bills special exemptions where the president doesn't have to listen to the courts. So if we're going to change the law at all, make sure to sneak in these like provisions into budget bills where when the courts rule against the president, he doesn't have to listen to them. And then when you're asked about him publicly on TV, just lie and say that none of that shit's happening. But don't worry, because the people that listen to you are so goddamn lost in their anger and so blinded by anger that when you start talking about bills, they check the fuck out anyways, because they don't want to talk about bills. They don't want to talk about the boring stuff. They want to talk about some sort of event that you have where you're going to prove that the government was conspiring against them, and you get to prove conspiracy theories. Yet that's what people want to watch. That's why reality TV exists. It's not why Congress exists. So I would appreciate it if Congress stopped acting like the freaking secret lives of Mormon wives, got off their asses and did some fucking legislating. That would be terrific. Let Fox News be Fox News. Let reality TV be reality TV. But this is a sitting congressman saying, we're going to prove an allegation that I just made up right now.
Question: did Hunter Biden sign his own pardon? I mean, you know, who was signing all this legislation?
Did Hunter Biden sign it? How the fuck would that have happened? How the fuck would a guy not in the government sign it? Do you not know about records, you dumb bitch? This guy's in the fucking Congress. You know why we know Hunter Biden didn't sign the fucking pardon? Because we have congressional records, because everything they do is documented. So there would be documentation of Hunter Biden signing, even using AutoPen to sign his own pardon. But you guys are too goddamn crazy to realize any of this. We already know that didn't happen because we have records of when it was signed. And I'm going to guess, were those pardons signed by AutoPen? I bet they weren't. I'm going to guess those ones weren't. Let me try and fix this again one more time. Slowly. Get it up to my face. There we go. When I get in my emotions, it zooms. Yeah, we would know. So he already knows the answer to that question. We already know that Hunter Biden didn't sign that. That's a congressman saying that. This isn't some like shock jock DJ. It's a congressman just making shit up on Fox News. It's an absolute joke. And you guys can try and play whataboutism all you want, but at the very least, the accusations against Donald Trump had evidence. When we accused Donald Trump of committing fraud, there was evidence. When we accused Donald Trump of leveraging money to get favors from Ukraine, there was evidence. When we accused his team of working with Russia on the 2016 election, at least there was evidence. You guys are starting with a conclusion, and you're going to go get evidence. That's what you guys did with the Biden crime family. You start with the assumption that they're criminals, and then you work backwards. And even then, even with that like slanted bias, you guys have been unable to prove anything. You couldn't collect a single dollar to Joe Biden, and you're still here calling it the Biden crime family. It's because they started by telling you that there was a crime, and you just believe them. This is Tex. Take this for what you want. Tex says, I'm embarrassed to have been in the MAGA cult. I will say Tex did message me and say that Tex messaged me, I think last week, and said that he thinks I'm right about a lot of things, and we'll see. And I just told Tex that it's going to take a long time for people to believe you. But if I'll take you at your word on that, Tex. All right. And then here's Trump. Because why have compassion? How can I ask how it is that the Christian conservative right, the moral right, how it is that you wound up with this?
Look, he's been a sort of a moderate person over his lifetime, not a smart person, but a somewhat vicious person, I will say. If you feel sorry for him, don't feel so sorry because he's vicious. What he did with his political opponent and all of the people that he hurt a lot of people.
Who?
Biden.
Who did Joe Biden hurt besides Donald Trump? Where's the? I'll read through these comments. I want to hear from the chat. Like, who did Joe Biden hurt? And when you say go after your political opponent, that's not even true. Like, Joe Biden actually stayed out of that. Most of the people that brought charges against Donald Trump were states. Those were local governments that were coming after Donald Trump, not the federal government. But who? Amy Lynn said Medicare and Medicaid pay for the nursing homes, Job Corp, which is mostly the trades, all being cut. Elderly were already fastest growing demographic of homeless. Now what? Yeah, that's a great point, Amy Lynn. FOD said, Jesus Christ, what got big? Sorry, did I read that at the time? Republican, and I read that one. Like, who did he hurt? Who did Joe Biden hurt? Trump always does this. He says, like, I got hurt, and then he says, oh, lots of other people got hurt, too. None of you guys got hurt. You just internalize all of Trump's pain for some reason. Like, when something bad happens to Donald Trump, because you guys have sworn your allegiance to him, it actually pains you. And so you get viscerally upset about him being a criminal.
And so I really don't feel sorry for him, but look, he's
dying. I don't feel sorry for him. Because he came after me. Okay. Biden didn't go after Trump, but the Republicans spent 4 years going after Joe Biden, ripping apart his family, to ultimately to find nothing. The $5 million bribe that they promised they would find, and no, didn't ever find it. In fact, you can find on the record people saying, like Andy Biggs saying we couldn't find it. We've got, sorry, I need to update that goal. Jen, you want to do announcements one more time while I update the goal? Stream title, How to Play the Victim 101. That would have been a good one. Have Republicans show you how to pretend they're victims. This is a good learning lesson on how to be a victim. Hey, Jen.
Here, do you have a shorter story you can cover real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, cover a short one.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Okay, I'll just show you this because this is crazy. This is a video that Trump reposted on True Social. The caption here is, there is no Joe Biden. He was executed in 2020. Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. As your president. Your president is reposting things that say Joe Biden isn't real. He was executed in 2020. And then they just use clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities. Yeah, dude, Matthew, respond to this, please. He's just trolling. That's what they're going to say. Just going to say he's just trolling. He's just trolling. Maybe. Or maybe. And I don't think Trump believes this, by the way. And I think that's the problem with Trump. Is that he'll see something like this and he recognizes that these are his followers. And so he's just going to throw him a bone. He's not going to stand up and do the right thing and be like, guys, this is fucking nonsense. Instead, he's like, oh, I need these people to continue to support me. The reality is, the tough reality about your party is that in order for you guys to win elections, you need crazy people. And you can't tell the crazy people the truth. Because if you tell the crazy people the truth, they won't vote for you anymore. You also have the Nazis on your side. And you can't really go aggressively at Nazis because then you'll lose votes. And you have the racists on your side. You have the white nationalists on your side. And the Q Republicans in the chat going, the KKK was started by the Democrats. Look it up. Here it comes. Which party started the KKK? Look it up. That's what they're going to say. Here it comes. Do we have it yet? That's fine. That's fine. You know what's crazy about that? Some of you are new, so I'm going to say it. I've said this many times, but in order for you to believe that the Democrats are the party of the KKK, you have to believe a pretty wild story. In order for you to believe that, you have to believe that the Democrats, who at the time, like the founders of the Democrats, they did find the KKK. And the Democrats existed mostly in the South. Southern states, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, did I miss any? Tennessee, South Carolina. So that was mostly the Democrats. And in order to believe this story, that the Democrats are that same party, then you have to believe that somehow, just like in the course of 10 years, all of those people in the South, in those same states, who were pro-segregation, many of them would have liked to go back to slavery. Many of them would prefer an ethnostate. Many of them didn't believe that black people should have rights. Somehow, you have to believe that those same racist people kept their racist beliefs of segregation and just moved to the north. And everybody else, all the Republicans who weren't racist, stayed in the South. And then you've got to quarrel with this idea like, okay, if they all moved to the north, then who were all the racists that were still there? Who were they voting for? And then if you look, who were the racists? Who, what was it? I think it was like I think it was into the 2000s. It might have been late 90s. Maybe it was early 2000s. Literally, the Grand Master of the KKK, David Duke, ran as a Republican in, I believe, let's see, David Duke, when was it? David Duke campaign. Let's see what year it was. Oh, whoops, that's David. What year was that? 88, he ran for president. Where was the one when he ran in the state house? Senate run. I mean, he ran as in 2016. David Duke ran for Senate in Louisiana. Yeah, there it was 2016. I was way off. 2016. David Duke, the former Grand Master, ran for Senate in Louisiana. And he linked that decision to Trump's bid for the presidency. He said the many people inspired by Donald Trump's presidential campaign include this is Inskeep. David Duke, let's see, the question he was asked was, many people were inspired by Trump's presidential campaign. I'll just show this up here. This is from NPR. The former leader of the KKK made that clear one day after the Republican convention. He filed to run for a U.S. Senate seat in Louisiana. He says Donald Trump's slogan, America First, is a slogan Duke used himself. David Duke said, well, yeah, I used it in 1992 when I ran for president, America First. And it's simply the idea of putting American interests first for American people. There's a lot of political correctness in this country, and people don't want to talk about their political views. And in fact, that's why we have in this country a secret ballot. Does this sound like just a generic Republican? As a United States Senator, nobody will be more supportive of his legislative agenda, his Supreme Court agenda, than I will. I'm 100% behind it. I have a long record of being in favor of protecting our borders from this massive immigration. So I think that those Republicans or those so-called conservatives, they are betraying the principles of Republican Party and certainly conservatism. You know, these are just nothing more than epithets and vicious attacks. Donald Trump is not a racist. And the truth is, in this country, if you simply defend the heritage of European American people, then you're automatically a racist. There's massive racist, radical discrimination against European Americans, and that's the reality. That's right. In this country, it's the white people who are being discriminated against. 2016, inspired by Donald Trump, in the South, David Duke reemerges from his presidential run in the 80s and his early congressional runs in the 70s as a Republican in the South. But yeah, totally. It's the Democrats, right? There's just this crazy story of how all these states are Republican and all these states were still racist. Who said I'm David Duke without all the baggage? There's somebody, David Duke without the baggage. Who was that? It's a current Republican. Yeah, House Speaker Steve Scalise. That's who it is. Where is it? All right. Duke Scalise is a fellow Louisiana. So Duke was running against him. Last made headlines when he supported Trump for president in 2016. 2 years later, Scalise ran into controversy and his remark about Duke resurfaced. Where is the quote? It might be up here higher. Okay, there it is. I'm David Duke without the baggage. But yeah, guys, it's the Republicans. Yeah, it's the Republicans. They're the good ones. Hey.
You missed the next argument about Biden went to first he said David Duke's funeral.
Oh.
David Duke's still alive, from my understanding.
That's right.
And that's Callie Cam, I think that's your name. It was Robert Byrd, and the guy that denounced the KKK and spent the rest of his life fighting for civil rights.
Yeah.
I know these arguments are really fucking hard for you. So stupid.
Yeah.
Anyways. I think I sent you the most recent numbers.
Thank you.
Gift goal. So we've got about 40 minutes left, the rest of the show. We need to, that top left-hand corner is the remaining balance of our gift card. This is our job. We do this each day from Monday through Friday. So if you guys could help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chat, all that goes towards knocking out that balance. We would greatly appreciate if you guys could help us out with that. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime sub, and if you've done that before, and just so you know, you have to do that each month. It doesn't auto-renew on Twitch. On YouTube, you can subscribe for free. Also, we have 4 different memberships if you'd like to help us support us that way. We had a members and subscriber-only event this last weekend. That was, I think we're trying to do more of those going forward. If you guys, we've got some time left. If you guys disagree with RTP, you can come on and actually talk to him in real time. And how you do that is that Venmo. That is my Discord username. If you want to DM me on Discord, I can bring you up to talk to Jay in real time. You don't have to argue in the comments and say things, or you won't, because most of you don't pull up and say anything. So, but that's an option. So if you can argue your points, that's how you do it.
Did you get distracted? Did you get distracted?
I'm reading different things.
I was like, that sounded like me. Yeah.
Well, I do my best trying not to read the chat when I'm up here, because it does get distracting.
Huh? It's hard.
Well, I've got my list of things that I go down for each of it, so I'm trying to check all. My brain's a mess. It's a lot up here.
That's on me.
Right. So check out our link tree. We're on most social media platforms, and we've got merch. So yeah, there's all that good stuff. So I was at the grocery store, and the kid that was bagging my groceries asked if I wanted paper or plastic. I told him that I didn't care, that he could just choose for me, and he said that I had to pick because baggers can't be choosers.
You get accused of being baggers. I do think, I hope that point wasn't lost there. Is the point of there is not to say that all Republicans are members of the KKK. My point was that you guys can't really upset the KKK, because then you lose votes. Like, you need the racists to vote. You need the white nationalists. And I agree with you. When you guys say, like, yeah, not all Republicans are racist, I agree with that. But there's a lot of them, and the ones that like are part of like groups that are racist, like the actual racist groups, like they love the Republicans. When you talk about the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, when you talk about the KKK, when you talk about the 3%ers, when you talk about Patriot Front, like the people that are most openly white nationalist are also proud Republicans, and they love Donald Trump. I remember, I don't know if it was Richard Spencer, I think, said, or it was somebody from the Spencer family. I'm pretty sure it's Richard Spencer. Don't quote me on exactly who it was. Basically said, like, we love Tucker Carlson because Tucker Carlson makes all of our points, but he just does it better. And that's the hard part, is that when you look at the rhetoric of David Duke, publicly David Duke will say things that just sound generically Republican. He won't honestly tell you what his plans are. And that was like Russ Vought. Russ Vought publicly gets very upset at CNN, like, how dare you say that I knew about this all along and that I wanted to terrorize the administrative state. And then you see him privately or in places where he's not like getting criticism for it, and he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's what we're doing. The problem is that when people are like that, when people won't show you what they truly believe, then it's hard to it's hard to discern who is racist and who isn't. And if policies being implemented are done in a way that are about justice or if they're about race. And that's the hard part of having this conversation. And that's why when we looked at like violent crime numbers, violent crimes at all-time lows, and yet the Republicans are telling us that there's violent criminals pouring over our borders that are killing us. And statistically, that's just not true. So if statistically they're willing to lie to me to prove a point, what's the point that they're trying to prove? They're trying to get rid of a bunch of immigrants. And who are those immigrants? Almost exclusively brown people. So do you see the problem that we have here? Is that you guys are all starting with this idea. And look, many of you probably aren't racist. And so when you hear these criticisms and you see, like, you support deportation, you support mass roundups, you're like, I support this because I believe that these people are a threat to me. And my contention is that what you believe is incorrect, that your belief is based on them lying to you. And we have this weird thing in America and in many like religious countries that beliefs should be respected. Fuck that. Why? Why should what you believe be something that I need to tiptoe around? If you can't prove it, then shut up about it. Beliefs are yours. They stay inside. Once your belief comes outside, once your belief is outside, it's open for criticism. But we do it's a weird thing we do in America where we're like, oh, we can't really criticize somebody's belief. They can openly state that belief, but you can't openly criticize it. Fuck that. If you openly state it, people can openly criticize it. And that's the real problem that we have. Is that you guys believe in what Donald Trump is doing. You believe that these things that they're doing with immigrants are good because you believe you're in danger. And none of you have looked at, are you in danger? Are you more in danger now than before these people showed up? Because it looks like statistically you are less in danger. Like the more immigrants we get, specifically from south of our border, the more immigration we get, it seems to be the safer we get. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? And yet they tell you that these people are the problem. And so you can participate in a system that is racist without you being racist, without you feeling racist. When you participate in a system that says we are going to specifically target brown people because they specifically are a threat to you, white people, and you see all the stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and and on Fox News, and every day you're just getting flooded with videos, and you can't go an hour without somebody mentioning the name Laken Riley, you feel justified. And you to yourself say, I don't feel this way because I hate brown people. I feel this way because just that's what's happening. And since we can't figure out which people are the violent ones and which people aren't, we need to close our borders until we can figure it out, and we need to vet them. And that sounds good until you start going around and rounding up people who have been here for 20 years and never committed a crime. Is that not vetting? They've been here for 20 years. They've committed no crimes in 20 years, and you say, oh, we got to get rid of them. Now I'm concerned. Now I'm concerned that you think that they are violent when we have 20 years of data that says that they're not violent. What percentage of the people that we're deporting are violent criminals? It seems to be a very low percentage. Because if they're violent criminals, they're going to El Salvador. What percentage of the people are going to El Salvador? Like less than 1%, right? So we're rounding up people who aren't a threat to you. Right? Statistically speaking, we're mostly rounding up people who have been here and who have not threatened you and who have not hurt you. But you've been so worked up in your feelings to believe that those people might be dangerous. Why? Well, because somebody else who has the same color of skin as them was dangerous. And now the question is, if you think that's justified, why are not all pastors in jail? Put every single pastor in jail for life for being a threat to children. Do you apply that logic evenly? When somebody's a threat to you, do you apply it evenly, or are you just allowing it because there's this little loophole of they came here illegally so you can get rid of them? That's your loophole. Now, all you'll ever talk about is how dangerous they are. And you get mad at us when we point out that most of these people aren't dangerous. Most of them are just here working and living with their families. And you're like, oh, well, we can't vet them, so we got to be cruel. And the only reason you're willing to be cruel is because you are force-fed a steady diet of propaganda that tells you that immigrants are going to hurt you. Like if I go and I just search illegal immigration, and I go to Twitter, and I go to like media. Let's see. What does it pull up here? Immigration surge. Oh, look, this massive surge of immigration. Scary. Can I go side by side? Paid source Fox News here. Scary. And then here's the anti-protesters. What are they saying? Look at this. Look at all these brown people here, not causing a problem, not being a threat, just saying, hey, due process. Do you see the difference between our two sides? Oh, now we have this. Now we got arrests. What does Stephen Miller say?
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land. that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be...
These aren't sources, dummies. This is showing the difference between what our side and your side says. I don't know. There's no caption here. I don't know what they're trying to show there.
Is illegally in our country. He entered the country in August of 2022 on a B2 visa that expired on February of 2023. He filed for asylum in September of 2022. We've got the timeline that we want.
Yeah. Oh, now we're gonna this person who committed a pretty heinous act in Colorado. Oh, we're gonna bring up the fact that this is an illegal immigrant. Why is that relevant? By the way, the reason that he's still here is because our asylum laws are broken. Because if you ask for asylum, you have to be granted a hearing, and he wasn't granted a hearing yet. So, is he here illegally? No. This is just them lying to you. He's here on an asylum claim. He's here legally. He entered legally. His visa expired. He asked for asylum, and he's waiting to have his asylum claim heard. Fix your asylum laws. You don't want this guy in the country? Fix the fucking asylum laws. But no, not Republicans in Congress. They're not going to write a law like that, are they? No, they're just going to have people go raid workplaces. There's Fuentes. Anyways, you know what you see. You know what's on your timeline. If your timeline is feeding you every single day something that an immigrant did that was bad, there's a reason for that. No, this dude thinks all illegal are brown people. No, I think the opposite. I think actually most people who are here illegally are not brown people, which makes me wonder why all the videos that this administration keeps putting out are just brown people. If you're gonna make these like jack off propaganda videos, how come all their jack off propaganda videos are just a bunch of brown people? No white people in there, are they? Go watch them. Go to DHS. Go to whitehouse.gov. Go look at those. You seeing them deport a bunch of white people? We're not deporting those people at all. You can hardly find I was looking for it. I found one. There was this guy that was like, he'd been here for like 20 years, and he was deported. But was he rounded up on the street? He wasn't. There was another legal issue that came up that made people aware of his legal status, and he was deported, but he was never handcuffed. He was just told, like, you got to go, and he just left. Yeah. You're going on and on about how illegals are not. I'm not saying this is what God. See, this is the problem. I swear to God, I am not saying that people who are here illegally don't commit crimes. Of course they do. Of course they do. Everybody commits crimes. What I am saying is that statistically, they commit crimes at a much lower rate than American citizens. So if you replaced American citizens with illegal immigrants, the crime rate would go down. That's the argument I'm making. The argument I'm making is that this idea that illegal immigrants are the number one threat to you and that we need to get rid of them because they are skyrocketing crime just isn't true. Crime's at historic lows. It's much lower than when I graduated high school. It's much lower than the year I was born. It's been precipitously dropping for years, and we're at historic lows. That's the argument I'm making. So if we have record immigration and historic low crime, then you've got to find me in the data how it is that all these extra people came in and crime went down. And if you look at crime rates and you look at it between people who are here illegally versus citizens, they commit crime at a much lower rate, mostly because the overwhelming majority of them are here for a better life. They want to work, and they want to do anything but draw attention to themselves. In fact, even the gang stuff, most of the gang stuff started here in America. Most of these gangs, they're here. Tren de Aragua is not a gang that is run by like the Venezuelan government. MS-13 is not a gang that is run by a foreign entity. They are run here. And they're here, and they're using their connections in El Salvador and Venezuela to smuggle drugs. But it's Americans, many of them legal. Many of them joined these gangs while they were in prison. And then they get out of prison or in the community that they're in, and they start running drugs, and they use their connections in those other countries to run drugs. But it's an American problem. It's not really an El Salvador or Venezuelan problem. It's a problem with Americans. So why don't we just fix that? But even then, historic lows on violent crime, historic lows. And yet every day I've got to see a propaganda video from this administration parading around a bunch of El Salvadorans or Mexicans or Venezuelans. Everybody just with one common factor, that they're not white. And if you don't think for 1 second that they don't know that what they're creating is a hysteria against brown people, then I think you're just lying to yourself. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Most of the people in this administration that are high up, they are fans of a white ethnostate, whether like implicitly or explicitly. They are fans of a white ethnostate, whether they believe it's because the crime is higher from immigration or not. Most of you, that's what the Republican Party is now. You guys want an ethnostate. And maybe you don't hate immigrants. Maybe you don't hate brown people. I would assume most of you don't. But what you're advocating for effectively is a white ethnostate, which is crazy. That's the scenario we're in. I think most people in Germany didn't hate Jewish people. They just thought, well, the reality is. And then it happened. Then you started deporting people. You started putting them on trains, sending them to another country, and you were like, oh, now they're out of not our problem anymore. And so you could just go about your daily life in Germany and be like, what? Concentration camp? Well, that's in Poland. I mean, are we Poland? We're not Poland. Oh, that's in El Salvador. Dude, that's Bukele in El Salvador. Look, we didn't know. Like, once they're in El Salvador, that's up to El Salvador. Once they're in Poland, that's up to the Poles. Don't blame us. Don't blame it. Wait, but your leadership said that you needed to exterminate them. Yeah, but they were joking. Like, they don't mean it. The Constitution will protect them from doing that. It's the same argument. He's not my president. Congratulations. All right. What do we got? 20 minutes left. I'm going to get into this. We may go a little bit over today. I want to talk about Curtis Yarvin, and I want to talk about the oligarchy. For anybody who's new here today,
a monarch, a single focus.
I think this is important just because of the Elon Musk episode. And if you're just getting here, I was on an episode of Jubilee recently. You can find that on Jubilee's YouTube. We talked about, I was on the anti-Elon Musk side. I want you guys to meet Curtis Yarvin. This was a CNN interview he did recently. Curtis Yarvin is not a tech billionaire. He's more of a prophet. Everybody from Peter Thiel to Mark Andreessen to Elon Musk to literally everybody in the PayPal mafia, Reid Hoffman, all these people that have their hands in the Trump administration, they view Curtis Yarvin as a thought leader, or as, I don't know if you would say a prophet, but somebody who inspires them.
A monarch, a single focus of authority is, absolutely necessary to run any integrated system efficiently. You could probably put any of the Fortune 500 CEOs in and say, okay.
I love it. They do it again every time. Cue CNN. It's your fucking guy. Isn't that interesting how CNN keeps platforming your people and allowing them to speak? It's almost like CNN isn't who you think they are. This is your guy, Republicans. This is your guy. He's on your side. Why are you laughing about CNN? They're showing him.
You're in charge of the executive branch. Fix this. They'd probably do fine. They wouldn't be Hitler or Stalin.
And he's got some powerful people listening.
I think you're pretty far out in a way that is worth thinking.
You guys going to criticize? It's Tucker Carlson now. Are we going to criticize Tucker Carlson now? No, we're not going to do that? Oh, gotcha. Do you believe it now? Now that it's Tucker, do you believe it? Or since he was on CNN already?
There's this guy, Curtis Yarvin, who's written about some of these things.
Years before,
there's just J.D. Vance quoting him. Yeah, no big deal.
For Elon Musk and D.O.G.E, Yarvin coined the phrase RAGE, retire all government employees. Next, he sees a world where the power is not with the people.
Should there be, though, elections in your world of a sovereign CEO?
There needs to be a way of basically holding the sovereign CEO accountable.
But not every single person should have a vote.
I have 4 beautiful children. None of them have a vote.
Experts in democracy like Harvard professor Daniel Allen, who publicly debated Yarvin, say his ideas are dangerous.
It is not the case that autocracies over the course of history have delivered good for human beings. They have consistently violated freedom.
Look, it's crazy. CNN's a joke because they platform right-wing thinkers. Doesn't make them not trash. Yeah, I don't know. Look, if you think CNN is a joke because you don't like some of their like political anchors, if you don't like their the people who do opinion, I'm fine with that. But if you're talking about like real news, they do real news. Just if you're talking about like you want it Jake Tapper, or if you don't like Anderson Cooper, whatever. If you don't like one of their personalities, that's fine. But they do real news. Most like CNN isn't just opinion all day long. Most of CNN's programming throughout the day, and Fox is the same way. MSNBC is the same way. Like the time when you don't watch it is mostly news. It's just that Americans are they have to be led, and so they show up in the evening and they watch the people who are going to give them their thoughts. But if you watch any of these news organizations during the day, it's mostly news. It's mostly unbiased. It's mostly just like them covering news stories.
Freedom.
Not surprisingly, Yarvin is no stranger to controversy. He's been accused of using racist tropes and whitewashing history.
Certain races are better at certain things than others.
Do you not necessarily believe then that certain races would be better at governing a country than others?
Oh, I mean, again, you know, governing a country is just a skill. And, you know, it's like the British in India would basically say, oh, this race is a governing race, this race is not a governing race, based on culture, based on tradition, based on biology.
So you're saying, yes, certain races would be better at running governments than others?
Would be better at doing anything, but those are only averages.
As for Trump, Yarvin says the administration is still not going far enough in harnessing executive power.
You laid out how you thought things could be done in a way that were fast, that may be a little bit dirty, and some of the things they do seem to be doing there in the White House. Are you not pleased with how they're doing it?
No, because I think that if you basically take anything complicated and you try to do 10% of it, you're not going to 5% or maybe 1%, you're probably not going to result in anything good.
Instead, Yarvin is looking to younger generations.
I think most of my influence on sort of the Trump administration is less through the leadership and more through like kids in the administration who read my kind of stuff because my audience is very young. And
are you in touch with staffers at the White House on a regular basis?
I don't really know what a regular basis is, but
are you emailing on the phone
do I have are there people in the administration who are on signal groups with me? Yes, there are. I'm just out there in the marketplace of ideas, you know, and I think the marketplace
Yeah. So are we, but we're not on signal chats with the administration. I love how they like try and downplay this shit. Curtis Yarvin knows. Like the vice president legitimately quotes him regularly. Loves Curtis Yarvin. Peter Thiel loves Curtis Yarvin. Andreessen loves Curtis Yarvin. I think Andreessen said I can't remember what he said about Curtis Yarvin as like a prophet. I can maybe find the quote. They love this guy. So this is where a lot of these thoughts started, and this is why I'm nervous about an oligarchy. Listen to Peter Thiel. This is Peter Thiel in 2010. This speech he gave, and shout out to Jim Stewartson on Twitter. He is an anti-fascist, and he covers fascism, and he's really fucking good at it. But he dug up this clip from 2010 of Peter Thiel, and the thing to remember is that these people were not in bed with the Republican Party. They saw tech as their and they built out like a brotherhood in the tech industry. You look at PayPal, you look at Google, you look at Facebook, you look at Tesla, you look at X, all of these companies. They all tend to have like a lot of the same investors. It's a brotherhood over there. LinkedIn. These people all invest together, and they raise the value of these companies together. If you look at these tech companies, most of them like don't make revenue, and they're worth billions of dollars. Amazon, before it ever made revenue, was one of the most valuable companies in the world, and they do that. Part of it is public perception, but the other part of it is they are viewed as brilliant, and so if they invest in something, it raises the price. It's not like dollars and cents. I think sometimes people think that like our economy is like it is economics, right? It's plus and minus. It's multiplication. It's math. It's not. It is our economy currently in the United States is mostly personality driven. That's why Tesla is the most valuable according to stock, but it is literally the least valuable auto manufacturer. The least. It makes the least amount of money, and it would make no money if it wasn't for government handouts. And yet, their stock price, I think it peaked at like $480. You see GM and Ford like between $10 and $30, and they're far more profitable than Tesla. Why? Because people have bought into this. And that's what Curtis Yarvin understood. And that's what Peter Thiel understood. They pull people out of college and they say, you can be one of us. You can be part of the group. But you've got to buy into this shit. You got to buy into this ideology. Sorry, we're going to do this again. And so here's Peter Thiel in 2010.
You know, I don't think despair is the only answer. And it's because I don't think politics is the only way to go. And my thinking on this, started to take a turn towards a more optimistic perspective.
RTP is the bear.
In the mid to late 90s, when I got involved in the tech boom in Silicon Valley, I ended up being the co-founder of a company called PayPal, and the initial founding vision was that we were going to use technology to change the whole world and basically overturn the monetary system of the world. And we can debate on how much it succeeded or how little it succeeded. And there were parts of it that I think have worked, and parts of it where the jury is still out. But the basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics. And
when people say that, like, social media, Twitter, he's an investor, Facebook, he's an investor, Instagram, he's an investor, YouTube, he's an investor. When people say that, like, social media got political, became political, I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what it was. He just told you. Social media was an alternative to politics. They view politics, politicians, government structures as an impediment to them having the power. So what they did, and this is why, like, these people, it's important to know that they have a lot of money and they have a lot of power. It's also important to recognize them as human. It's also important to recognize that they are wrong a lot. But their power doesn't seem to go away when they're wrong. So when Peter Thiel, who is weirdly a conservative man, aligned himself with a bunch of left-leaning people socially, it made sense at the time. It made sense for Facebook, for YouTube, for Twitter, for Instagram. It made sense for all of them to align more moderately. It made sense for them to be accepting towards LGBTQ people. It made sense for them to keep racists, white nationalists off of their platform. Why? Because they needed other people's money. They desperately needed other people's money, and other people weren't going to invest if they were racist. So even though behind closed doors, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, both, you can look into their histories, they both have pretty fucked up histories. In fact, Peter Thiel, when he started the Stanford Review, or the Stanford Journal, I think it's Stanford Journal, which is their conservative newspaper, when his rise to prominence was that he said that the school was too hard on people who sexually assaulted women, that it was too easy for somebody to be accused and without hard evidence being taken out of school. He wanted more hard evidence, essentially creating a scenario where a crime that is almost never has hard evidence would basically be allowed. That was his first, and he was forced to apologize later on when he was running PayPal and he needed other people's money. Then he was forced to apologize. He's like, oh yeah, those were my old thoughts. Those aren't my thoughts now. So all these people used everybody else, but their plan the entire time was that they wanted an alternative to politics because they didn't like that politicians had the power. But the one thing to remember, the main difference is, like, the politicians were voted in and they got the power. Nobody voted these people in. When you chose to sign up for Facebook, for Google, for Twitter, you didn't think about Peter Thiel. You didn't think about Mark Zuckerberg. You probably, unless you signed up once Elon bought Twitter, you probably didn't think about what's his name, Jack Dorsey. You probably didn't know Jack Dorsey ran Twitter. Most of us signed up for social media unknowingly, but their plan from the very beginning was to use social media to give themselves power.
And
And power that rivaled political power.
There are a number of different technologies we can outline, but the task in this world where politics has become so broken and so dysfunctional is to find a way to escape from it. It's not a way to fix it, it is a way to escape. And there are, a number of different options. I think the promising one of the 1990s and this last decade has been to escape onto the internet and to sort of create an alternate virtual reality. Questions, of course, how does it intersect with the real world? There are, I think, escaping to outer space is a promise, although I think the space technology is not quite there, so I think that's sort of for the second half of the 21st century. I think
interesting that Peter Thiel was saying it before Elon, huh? Elon gets a lot of credit, like, oh, this is his goal. He came up. No, Peter Thiel cultivated Elon Musk. What Peter Thiel does is he goes into these institutions like Harvard and Yale and Stanford, and he finds people who are like social outcasts, and he brings them in, and he turns them into like incels, basically. He turns them into his ideology. He brings them in like, hey, be a conservative. It's cool. You're part of the resistance. And he cultivates these assets. And now literally the guy that Peter Thiel, this guy who said, we're doing all of this so that we can rival politics, so we can take the power from politics. This guy ran a fundraiser for J.D. Vance after he took J.D. Vance out of Yale, after he gave J.D. Vance a bunch of money, after he cultivated him, after he groomed him, and he brought him, and they ran a fundraiser, and suddenly J.D. Vance was no longer not on the short list. J.D. Vance wasn't on the short list for VP candidates. In fact, he had called Trump Hitler. Trump hated J.D. Vance, and then they gave Trump a bunch of money, and suddenly J.D. Vance was the VP. Weird. And where did J.D. Vance get all of his money? Where did who cultivated him in college? This guy, Peter Thiel. He's a groomer. He's been grooming people forever. And by the way, he's also a sexual groomer. Look into the way he grooms people. He's gay. And look at the way he grooms young men. And the ones that, weirdly enough, the ones that he grooms that are straight, those ones are violently homophobic. It's weird. Kind of a weird deal they got, huh?
think we can
Almost feels like, like sometimes when people are deeply closeted or they don't want to admit something, they're violently opposed to the thing that internally bothers them the most. Maybe. I'm not making an assumption, but maybe.
can try to, create autonomous countries on oceans, underwater, all sorts of other spaces. But I think technology is the vehicle for how we should be looking to escape and move beyond politics as we find it today.
Yeah. Part of their ideology is this escape, this exit. And this exit, this was in 2010, but between 2010 and now, he and his friends started investing in private cities. You can look at the one, it's called Prospera. It's in Honduras. You should look it up. There's a great YouTube video on it, and I don't have time to show it today, but if you look up Prospera, Prospera, it's a city in Honduras, and they've created like a private city with where crypto is the currency. They tried to do it in San Francisco, but a bunch of landowners in San Francisco were like, no. They literally tried to sue landowners in San Francisco for working with each other to not sell them their property. They sued farmers and landowners in California, and the basis of their lawsuit is that they were working together in order to make sure that they couldn't buy up the land, and they were. And that was legitimately the lawsuit. And what they want is they want an exit from America. They want their own government. And maybe that government is in America, or maybe it's out of America. About 2012, they started talking about buying Greenland. In fact, they've made offers to buy Greenland. Isn't it weird that we never heard about the United States buying Greenland until they gave Trump a bunch of money? Literally, when did Trump start talking about Greenland? Did you ever hear him talk about it until they gave him money? No, but as soon as they gave him money, suddenly Panama Canal and Greenland. Isn't that weird? Weird how that happened, right? They want to be the government. They don't like the government because the government stands in their way. They believe legitimately that they are smarter than you. In fact, Peter Thiel is on the record multiple times basically saying like, the elites should vote. It shouldn't be everybody. You saw Curtis Yarvin saying, like, no, not everybody should vote. My children don't vote. He compared you Republicans, he compared you to children that don't have the right to vote. That's pretty fucking wild, right? Let's see. Is there anything else on here? I don't remember if I had anything else on there. No, I'll show one more clip before we go. And I'll have more on Elon Musk, but I just wanted to show this clip that went around. A shorter clip of this has gone around with Bono, where Bono talks to Joe Rogan about the impact of USAID. And I felt like I should show the full thing because I do think that it was clipped out of context for people on the not out of context, but it was clipped early for people on the left to be like, look at Bono dunking on Joe Rogan. The reason I left this whole thing is I want you to see Joe Rogan's response to it too. I think that's important. And I do think that Joe Rogan then that was clipped by the right, and the right was like, look at Joe Rogan dunking on Bono. So I want to show the whole thing in context, and then you can make your own judgment.
Just recent report. It's not proven, but the surveillance enough suggests 300,000 people have already died from just this cut off, this hard cut of USAID. So there's food rotting in boats, in warehouses. There is this will fuck you off. You will not be happy.
Is that a British thing, like a fuck you off? I've never heard it like that. I've heard fuck you up.
No American will, but there is, I think it's 50,000 tons of food that are stored in Djibouti, South Africa, Dubai, and wait for it, Houston, Texas.
Doesn't matter. He's a globalist shield. Dude, this is crazy. Globalism is good. Globalism, good. The globalism that you're afraid of, like this New World Order shit, isn't it? Who was the New World Order people? It was obviously the cabal here. It was China. It was India. It was It was the Saudis. It was the Qataris. It was Israel. It was right. All the people that Trump's doing business with. All the people that Trump just ran, he flew a bunch of billionaires over with him to meet the Saudi royal prince. Dude, that's what's crazy. Like the globalism that we like, the globalism where there's just like free trade, like the libertarian view of globalism where there aren't borders to trade and you can travel freely. Like that's good. That's what we want. Weirdly, we want that. We want free trade. We want less war. And you call it globalists while supporting a globalist. Donald Trump is the bad version of globalist that you guys all hate. The one where there's like a world order, where the elite rich people of the world are running everything, and they're working collectively with each other to benefit nobody but themselves. That includes Peter Thiel, that includes Elon Musk, that includes Curtis Yarvin, that includes Mark Andreessen. The globalists are actually doing it, and you're like, fuck you guys for not wanting people to live. Yeah, we just want to give money to people who need food, and we don't think there should be restrictions for that. And you're calling that like evil globalism while you're jerking off to the globalists doing globalism. Like I don't even know what to tell you. Like you guys just functionally are illiterate. I don't know how you get through life. I don't know how you function. Like they're literally doing it right now. The Trump's literally cutting deals for himself right now. They're cutting out loopholes in all the trade deals for all of his friends right now. And yet you're like, oh, the real problem is that we're giving food aid to people that don't have money. That's the real globalism. Functionally, you're illiterate. Functionally, like you are stunted. Functionally, you are a sheep. It's fucking crazy. All the worst parts about globalism, your guys doing, and you're sitting here going like, oh, really? The reason that globalism is bad is because poor people don't die. Yeah, you are the globalist. You're too stupid to realize it.
And that is rotting rather than going to Gaza, rather than going to Sudan, because the people who know the codes are for the warehouse.
Right. Sorry. Free trade is not synonymous with globalism. We're talking about free trade right now, bud. We're talking about aid for poor people. So shut the fuck up and learn something then. Obviously, we're not talking about the other shit. Obviously, we're not talking about implementing rules that will supersede American constitutional principles. That's what Donald Trump is doing. So shut the fuck up for a minute while we talk about poor people dying. And you can go jerk off to your picture of Donald Trump doing globalism later while not realizing that you're too goddamn dumb to know that your guy's the fucking globalist. Shut up for a second then. We're going to talk about poor people dying.
In Texas. And that is rotting rather than going to Gaza, rather than going to Sudan, because the people who know the codes or for the warehouse are fired. They're gone. And so this, I don't know, what do you think? What is that? That's not America, is it?
Well, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Right. This is the problem. The problem is, for sure, there have been a lot of organizations that do tremendous good all throughout the world. Also, for sure, it was a money laundering operation. For sure.
Excuse me? For sure? Do you know what money laundering is? I don't think he knows. Money laundering is a way to take your money and run it through another organization to clean that money, and then you take your money back. The money that was given was taxpayer money from the United States. In order for this to be for sure money laundering, Joe Rogan, it would be the United States sending their money through USAID, cleaning that money, and then getting the money back. We didn't get the money back, you dumb fucking thumb. This is a problem with people listening to Joe Rogan. For sure it was money laundering. Bro, you don't even know what money laundering is. In order for this to be money laundering, we would have to get the money back. And it would be clean. And you would also start with the premise that the way that we got that money was illicit. And that's why we're laundering it. Fundamentally, he doesn't know what it means. But he's absolutely fucking sure. Why? Because he's just another dumb right-winger who just says shit with a lot of confidence. And people are like, oh, but he said it with confidence, so it must be true. If Joe Rogan says something with confidence, it's true. That's where we're at. No, this isn't money laundering. What are you talking about? This isn't money laundering. This is just aid.
Or there was no oversight. For sure, billions of dollars are missing. In fact,
no oversight for sure. Then how the fuck? What the fuck is US governmentspending.net or whatever it is? That website that Elon Musk quoted for every bit of waste, fraud, and abuse that he claimed, he found on a government website that was formed by Democrats, frankly, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, so that after the 2008 financial crisis, we had more transparency. It is fucking insane the things Joe Rogan says for sure that are so not for sure. You know who had oversight? Congress. You know who could have viewed any of these contracts at any time? Every fucking one of us. Every human in here could have checked it, and Congress had oversight. And by the way, if you catch that Jubilee episode, one of the things that they don't tell you is that when Elon Musk stepped into his role in DOGE, he went through and he got a bunch of inspector generals fired. And the previous year, those inspector generals, through oversight and independent investigations, had clawed back $90 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse. And Elon and his team fired them and then proceeded to find $30 billion. They were about a third as effective as the inspector generals. Not only did we have oversight, not only were we investigating this stuff, but we were also finding money and we were clawing it back. And it was publicly available on a website funded by our government. I don't know how somebody like Joe Rogan, who has access to anybody he wants to talk to, can fuck up this bad and just get everything wrong.
For sure, there was no oversight. For sure, billions of dollars are missing. In fact, trillions that are unaccounted.
No, nothing's missing. There were no dollars missing. We know where it went. Unless you're saying like the money that people meant, like what kind of food did that go to? Yeah, maybe not. He's just saying shit. This is the #1 podcast in the country, and he's #1, largely driven as #1 now by politics. You can actually look. Joe Rogan was already really popular, But his audience is different now than it was before. You can go look at the demographics. It is hyper partisan, which is why like the podcasts that beat him out regularly are like partisan politics. Like when Midas Touch beat him out, it was partisan. People like politics. He does politics, but goddamn is he dumb.
Accounted for that were sent off into various. They don't even know where because there's no receipts.
No, it didn't happen. Legitimately didn't happen. In the times when people haven't provided receipts, Inspector Generals found that every year. Every year, Inspector Generals clawed back money from USAID. Every fucking year. Elon came in and said he was doing it for the first time, and he did the same thing they were supposed to do. He was just way worse at it. Because Elon wasn't there to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. I hate to break this to you guys. Elon was there to get his hands on all the data for him and his friends, so that they can control all of our data and they can create a police state. And you can go back, you could mark this down, call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever you want. I don't think they're going to be successful because I think that we overestimate how intelligent and influential they are. Like we've already saw that Elon Musk lost his influence. As soon as Trump didn't have his back, nobody really fucking cares about Elon anymore. They overestimated the amount of power they had with Trump. Their protection in being able to be dumb fucking psychos was because Trump offers you protection because his crowd does whatever he says. So when Trump distances himself from Elon, when Elon does fucked up things, Elon loses popularity. And Rogan would too. If Rogan ever turns on Trump, like it's over for him. His podcast will tank.
The way Elon Musk described it, he said if any of this was done by a public company, the company would be delisted and the executives would be in prison. But in the United States,
there is currently an investigation by Elon's own shareholders into misallocated money. Just so we're clear. Nobody ever goes to prison for misallocating money. In fact, if you do, Donald Trump will pardon you. If you misallocate money and let's say you get convicted of 34 felonies, fuck it, run as a Republican. Elon's like Trump. Joe Rogan just thinks Elon is brilliant and knows everything. Elon politically is dumb as a rock. Elon's a smart guy on some things, but politically he's dumb as a rock. And that should come as no surprise for a guy who has literally no social awareness. Politics is social. Messaging is social. All of this shit requires requires the ability to understand people's emotions, and Elon doesn't understand any of that. I don't know why we're listening to somebody who can't even understand his own emotions. He doesn't get politics, and either does Joe. But Joe thinks because Elon's richer than him that he's brilliant. But Elon doesn't get any of this.
The company would be delisted, and the executives would be in prison. But in the United States, this is standard.
Literally every major company that you can, name a company that hasn't done that exact thing, misallocated funds that nobody ever found. Did any of them get delisted? How about every fucking bank in 2008? How about every fucking one of them? The only time you ever really crash a company that size is if you legitimately run a Ponzi scheme. That's it. And you have to be really, and at this point, probably not. At this point, a Ponzi scheme is legal.
When Biden left office, when it was clear that Trump won, in the 73 days, they spent $93 billion from the Department of Energy on just radical loans, just throwing money into places.
Right. Yeah, no, that's not what happened. The money gets allocated and it gets spent very quickly. Because what happens in these agencies like the Department of Energy is they have contracts with all these other contractors, and it's for a year's worth of work. And they bid these contracts. And then when Congress authorizes the money, the Department of Energy, in this case, is going to send out the money for the contracts that they've awarded. And it always starts early. It's always early. They don't want to get paid. Our government generally pays out before the job is completed. It's kind of what's cool about getting a government contract is you're guaranteed your money. Most of the time you get it up front. They have no clue what they're looking at. It's just dumb guy politics, and they're informed by dumb guys. Why is it that all of Joe Rogan's opinions are given to him by people who have no experience in politics whatsoever? In what other scenario is the expert of a subject somebody who has never worked or studied that particular topic? Elon Musk is not an expert on people. He's not an expert on how the government functions. He's not an expert on politics. And he obviously isn't an expert on how like budgets work. Go look at any budget in the government and from 2023 and look at their allocation. Most of the money allocated from every one of those departments comes early in the year. Doesn't matter if it's an election year or not. But in an election year, if you're Joe Rogan and you're just a fucking thumb who repeats shit that your friends who you think are smarter than you say, then you're going to repeat dumb shit like, oh, did you see this? Yeah, I saw it. Every year it looks exactly the same. And if every year it looks exactly the same way, then maybe that's not what this is about, is it? And by the way, those funds that they're spending, those funds were congressionally approved by Congress. Congress already told the Department of Energy, you can spend this money. And Trump has no ability to tell them they can't spend that money. Congress has to do it. This guy is so far removed from what's happening, it's crazy. It's like he's calling a football game as an MMA announcer. It's what it feels like. Ever heard Joe Rogan talk about basketball? And you're like, oh, God, have you ever watched basketball? That's exactly what it sounds like to somebody who follows politics when Joe Rogan talks politics. Nobody who's educated on politics thinks he's good at this. Nobody who does it for a living thinks he's good at this. You don't see Ben Shapiro out there being like, you know who really gets it, who has a firm grasp? Joe Rogan. You don't see any of those ultra right-wingers like, Joe Rogan really gets politics. No, Joe Rogan's just like an everyday, like common sense guy. And he used to talk to people about aliens, and he used to talk to people who didn't really have an incentive to lie or to spin a narrative. And so Joe Rogan was good at interviewing them, and then he would repeat a lot of their information. But because they had no incentive to lie, a lot of what Joe Rogan said just wound up being true. And he had a lot of knowledge that he was able to recite that was true. And then he became obsessed with politics. And then when he became obsessed with politics, he went straight to the conspiracy theory guys. And so now he just repeats that stuff. It's what he's always done. He's never been somebody that like did his own research. He just has access to interesting people. And most interesting people have no incentive to lie to you because there was like, what purpose would you really have to lie if you're not selling something? But then he gets involved in politics with all these people who are hyper partisan and have a ton of skin in the game, like Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk, if the government pulls his subsidies, his company doesn't make any money. If he's not allowed to, by the way, that thing you guys love, like the Green New Deal and like renewable energy, if Tesla wasn't allowed to sell their energy credits, they wouldn't have been profitable. So Elon has a lot to gain here. And he has a lot to gain by sucking Trump's dick. So he does it, and he does it publicly. And then Joe Rogan sees him publicly sucking Trump's dick, and he's like, look at Elon and Donald Trump having a nice conversation. Just doesn't realize that what he's doing is dick sucking. That's how you talk in politics. A lot of people don't know this, but the only way to talk in politics is with a dick in your mouth. And he doesn't know. And he's just a parrot for dumb guys. He's dumb politics for dumb guys. Finish it off.
And there's no oversight, no receipts. Like the whole thing is, there's a lot of fraud.
There's not,
a lot of money laundering.
There's no money laundering. There's not a lot of fraud. There's just stuff you guys didn't like. It was approved by Congress. They had to go to Congress with a proposal to get Congress to approve it. If Congress didn't know what they were approving, that's on Congress. But none of this stuff was in the dark. You guys act like everybody just has this like a government bank account and they're just out there like swiping credit cards. That's not how any of this shit works. All of these departments have oversight. None of them were laundering money. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. If you were going to try and say like they were stealing money, you could say that. And there were instances of people taking money that was congressionally approved and not using it correctly, but that's not laundering money. And I still have a bunch of fucking morons in here like, dude, you're so wrong. Am I? Am I wrong? Did they launder money? Did the United States government use USAID to clean their money and then get it back? Did any of that happen? No. Was there oversight? Yeah. Was everything Elon Musk showed us publicly available? Yeah. You just don't like it. You don't like that I'm the one that's saying it. If Joe Rogan was saying this or if Donald Trump was saying this, you would believe it. You would believe everything I'm saying. And you shouldn't believe me and you shouldn't believe them. You should just go look yourself. Just go Google this shit. Go to usaspending.gov and go look at all of Elon's receipts. See how many he has receipts for. He said $2 trillion. It's $32 billion. Not even close. He's a third of the way there for the department that he replaced. He's a third of the way to the inspector generals. And he's already went through the whole budget. So it's not like he's going to find more. And then he quit. And you're like, dude, this guy fucking saved America, man. Looks like there's about $60 billion he left on the table to save America. Looks like he cost us about $60 billion because he's ineffective at his job. Anyways, that's it for me today. I stayed a little extra. Looks like it's going to be Wednesday. Let me double check this real quick. Okay. So Lori Vallow is sick. Looks like we're going to start on Wednesday now. So I will be here tomorrow. Wednesday, I will not be here. And then I'll be back Thursday and Friday. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel. That way you get notifications when we go live. Sometimes we show up doing live debates on TikTok, and we broadcast those over here on YouTube as well. So make sure you're subscribed for that. We have paid subscriptions that you can get through Twitch. And sorry, I just saw my cousin was here. That's weird. Sorry to my very Mormon cousin in the chat for all the fuck words. You can subscribe on Twitch, which gets rid of your commercials, and over here on YouTube, you can subscribe. That gets you access to, depending on what membership level you're at. It also gives you access to our private events, which we just did one last night, and I'm planning the next one as we speak. So I will see you guys, and we did wipe out the gift goal. Sorry, I didn't tell you guys that. Let me make sure I read everybody's comments too. Don't want to leave you hanging. Let's look at Jen. Amy Lynn said it all makes a good show for the uninformed. Talking about Rogan, yeah. Elizabeth said helps towards today's goal. Fuck you, Cam, for sending that picture. Trump was a Democrat because, like he said, the economy always does better under them. Then no Democrats would support him, so he went to the poorly educated. Amy said, Jay blessing us all through the screen, his hand to my forehead. Rory said, thanks for always doing my homework. I think I got that one. Left you something in the Discord. Thanks, Cam. Go fuck yourself. I hate you. I hate the Rams. All right, that's it for today. I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here, wherever you're watching currently. For everybody that's new, I hope you come back tomorrow. Everybody who's been here with me since the start, thank you so much to all my moderators on both Twitch and YouTube. Thank you guys for keeping the chat clean. Jen, MVP as usual. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.